Chapter 10-15. Rumble. At this moment, the void exploded with a loud bang. The divine light that filled the sky swept out in all directions. Chaotic turbulence filled the air, and the world trembled. The resplendent golden glow illuminated the world. A vast and terrifying golden fist instantly swept across the sky. It was like an ancient divine mountain that was tens of thousands of feet tall. It violently slammed into the body of the three-headed hellhound. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled as if a golden divine sun had exploded. The body of the three-headed hound of hell exploded into a rain of light in an instant. However, the punch didn't lose its momentum. It contained a monstrous domineering aura and divine power, and collided fiercely with Yin Jiutian's fist. Who is it? Yin Jiutian's expression changed as he felt a terrifying force coming toward him. He trembled and was thrown back dozens of feet by the terrifying force. His chi and blood were in turmoil. Golden light fell from the sky and dazzling divine light shone from the 9 heavens. A figure walked toward them. It was a young man who looked perfect. He had a handsome face and jade-like skin. He was slender and strong and was surrounded by golden dragons. He looked majestic and mysterious. His robe was as white as snow and his black hair fluttered in the wind. He was like a peerless divine king who had descended to the mortal world. He exuded an otherworldly aura as if he was the center of heaven and earth. Everyone could not help but tremble when they saw him. His eyes were like the brightest stars and the deep and vast starry sky. They contained everything in heaven and earth and the vast universe. No one dared to look into his eyes. Bang! 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 He walked down from the 9 heavens. Every step he took seemed to be stepping on everyone's hearts. There was a strange rhythm that made everyone's blood boil. At this moment, he seemed to have become the celestial emperor who ruled over all beings. Everyone in the Samsara temple fell silent and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Young master. Shui Wei's eyes were filled with disbelief and surprise. She couldn't help but exclaim softly. The figure in front of her was like a divine king and celestial emperor. It was the person she had been thinking about day and night, Ling Xiao. It's Ling Xiao. Ha ha ha. Lord Ling Xiao is back. The saintess is saved. The Samsara temple is saved. Everyone from the Samsara temple exclaimed in surprise. Then, their faces lit up with joy. The eyes of the first elder, Zhu Biao, Pang Gezhan, and the others were filled with hope. Their bodies were trembling in excitement. Unknowingly, everyone saw Ling Xiao as their hope. As long as Ling Xiao was there, they would be filled with endless confidence. How could a man who could even kill a demon god be afraid of a mere Yin Jiutian? Ling Xiao. He really was Ling Xiao. I didn't expect him to be so strong. Chu Qianqian stared at Ling Xiao without blinking. Her beautiful eyes were filled with splendor. Yin Jiutian's face darkened instantly. He glared at Ling Xiao and said, "You're Ling Xiao. I didn't expect you to be so lucky to actually survive. I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Otherwise, you will die too." Yin Jiutian's words were full of cold killing intent. A vast aura locked onto Ling Xiao, as if Yin Jiutian would attack Ling Xiao at any time. However, to everyone's surprise, Ling Xiao did not even look at Yin Jiutian. Instead, he walked towards Shui Wei. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with pity. He said slowly, "Shui Wei, I'm sorry that I'm late. Today, let young master bring you along to kill them all, okay?" Ling Xiao carried Shui Wei carefully. His voice was incomparably gentle and his face was filled with a doting smile. Shui Wei nodded vigorously. She felt a great surge of joy and happiness in her heart. However, tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. "Ling Xiao, you're courting death." Yin Jiutian's eyes revealed a trace of chilling killing intent. Ling Xiao's disregard for him had completely enraged him. It had to be said that Ling Xiao's appearance was indeed shocking. Even Yin Jiutian was stunned. However, when he saw that Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the 9th level of the Supreme Realm, Yin Zhoutian felt as if he had been cleansed. He could not help but fly into a rage. A mere 9th level of the Supreme Realm brat. Even if his combat strength was strong, what could he do? How dare he disregard the 9 Nether Emperor? He deserved to die. Rumble. A chilling killing intent filled the air. It contained a dark and evil aura and locked onto Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao raised his head and glanced at Yin Zhoutian indifferently. I don't need to know who you are and I don't care who you are. You hurt Shui Wei, so you have to die. Ling Xiao said calmly as if he was stating a fact. Yin Zhoutian was so angry that he laughed and said, good, very good. Ling Xiao, you're really arrogant. Today, I'd like to see what right you have to be so arrogant in front of me. Boom. Yin Zhoutian could not hold it in any longer. Terrifying divine power gathered around him and he threw a punch at Ling Xiao. Heaven and earth trembled violently. Yin Zhoutian's punch contained a boundless dark aura. It was as if there were endless gloomy winds and the howling of ghosts. It also contained a trace of power that could confuse one's primordial spirit. It was as if it could make one sink into it forever. Ling Xiao's face was calm, but his eyes were extremely cold. He held Shui Wei in one hand and clenched his other hand into a fist. Golden divine power gathered around him and hundreds of millions of dragon roars were heard. The mighty dragon power was unparalleled and it suppressed Yin Zhoutian. Roar! The terrifying dragon roars shook the sky. When Ling Xiao threw a punch, there were 18 7-colored divine dragons that contained the power to tear everything apart. They rushed toward Yin Zhoutian at the same time. Each 7-colored divine dragon had the power of a half-step divine spirit. 18 7-colored divine dragons were equivalent to 18 half-step divine spirits rushing toward Yin Zhoutian at the same time. Yin Zhoutian's expression changed when he saw the monstrous killing intent. This was the ultimate physical strength, which had reached the limit of what Ling Xiao's body could bear. If he wanted to unleash a stronger physical strength, he would have to cultivate the body of a divine dragon to become a god. This punch was already at the peak of the human Tao. The sublime power made everyone tremble involuntarily. Crack! The terrifying fist imprint exploded, illuminating the resplendent sky. The fist imprints all over the sky exploded, turning into a resplendent rain of light. Ling Xiao's punch seemed to have the power to crush everything. When it collided with Yin Zhoutian's fist, Yin Zhoutian's body trembled. His arm was filled with 18 layers of terrifying power. Then, Yin Zhoutian's arm exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Yin Zhoutian's expression changed drastically. He felt that the 18 layers of divine power were about to rush into his body. He immediately cut off one of his arms and moved away instantly. Boom! Chapter 10:16. That was the power of a single punch. Even though Yin Zhoutian was very powerful and had refined the godhead, he was only one step away from the real divine spirit realm. However, no matter how powerful Yin Zhoutian was, he was still a mortal. His body was still not a divine body, so he could not withstand Ling Xiao's peerless punch. Ling Xiao's body had reached the pinnacle. The power of the 18 rainbow divine dragons was incredible. Even a true divine spirit realm expert might not be as strong as Ling Xiao, let alone Yin Zhoutian. Cough cough. Pinnacle of body, pinnacle of human Tao. Your physical body is indeed very strong. Just based on the strength of your physical body alone, you can already be called number one in this world. However, no matter how strong your body is, it is just a mortal. Today, I will show you the power of a divine spirit realm expert. Yin Zhoutian coughed out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were full of shock, and the killing intent in his eyes was almost tangible. He felt a strong sense of threat from Ling Xiao. If he couldn't kill Ling Xiao, he might be the one to die today. Rumble. Yin Zhoutian was surrounded by a black evil spirit, which made the void tremble violently. A terrifying power began to awaken in his body. Roar. a powerful beast roar shook the world. Yin Jiutian's body flashed with black light, and he turned into a three-headed hound of hell. The three heads looked ferocious, and there was a black vortex in his eyes, which seemed to be able to devour all souls and make people fall into an endless hell forever. The bloodline of the three-headed hound of hell. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Yin Jiutian could turn into the three-headed hound of hell, which meant that the bloodline of the three-headed hound of hell in his body was extremely strong. He should have inherited the superpowers of the three-headed hound of hell. The terrifying power had surpassed the pinnacle of human Tao and reached a mysterious realm. King Qingguang, King Songdi, and the others were shocked. Ling Xiao, die. The three-headed hound of hell said in a cold and deep voice. Suddenly, its three heads opened their mouths, and three rays of black light intertwined together, which pressed down on Ling Xiao. The three rays of black light appeared in the void and turned into a black sea, which contained a terrifying corrosive power, and shrouded Ling Xiao in it. Boom! A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he threw out a punch. The black light was directly shattered by him, but it didn't disperse. Instead, it exploded with a mysterious wave, like a cage, imprisoning Ling Xiao within. Boom! Boom! Ling Xiao threw out two more punches, shattering the other two rays of black light. Black baleful aura filled the air, containing a wave that could corrode everything, causing the Black Sea to surge even more violently. Rumble. That Black Sea surged and surged, waves surged, as if it was boundless, forming an extremely mysterious domain, enveloping Ling Xiao within. No matter how Ling Xiao attacked, he was unable to penetrate the sea. Even his terrifying fist force was corroded by the black light. This Black Sea seemed to be the source of Cerberus's power. It could corrode and devour everything. Ling Xiao could feel that the more he attacked this Black Sea, the stronger the power of the domain became. At the same time, the power of his body gradually weakened. Unexpectedly, this Black Sea was devouring Ling Xiao's power. This was also because Ling Xiao was so powerful that he could resist the Black Sea. Otherwise, even if a titled Supreme Being was here, he would be instantly turned into a pool of blood and be completely swallowed up. Whoosh! All of a sudden, one of the three-headed hound's eyes shot a beam of destructive godlight toward Ling Xiao. The destructive divine light seemed to have locked onto Ling Xiao, leaving him no room to dodge as it shot towards Ling Xiao's head. Eyes flashing, Ling Xiao didn't try to evade. Instead, he summoned the King Heaven Devourer Cauldron. The beam of destructive godlight slammed into the cauldron, causing sparks to fly out and the cauldron to tremble violently, as if it might shatter at any moment. Ling Xiao had been planning to use the cauldron to devour the beam of destructive godlight, but instead, he realized that it was so powerful that the cauldron couldn't handle it. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, a few more beams of destructive light shot down from the void above. At the same time, the Black Sea surged. Black chains of order intertwined, as if to completely seal Ling Xiao, forming a killing force that wanted to kill him completely here. In my devouring domain, I'm a true god. I'm the Emperor of Heaven. Nobody can save you today. The three-headed hound roared, his eyes flashing with cold light. The devouring territory was the strongest territory of the Cerberus. The Black Sea was formed by the Cerberus's divine power. It was so vast that even experts of the same level as him would not be able to escape from it, let alone Ling Xiao. Yin Jiutian knew that Ling Xiao's battle prowess was terrifying, so he wanted to use the devouring domain to devour him. Devouring domain? I'm the ancestor of devouring. Watch as I decapitate you, dog. Ling Xiao chuckled coldly, his eyes flashing with sharp light. Rumble. He leaped into the sky in an instant. Divine light rose from his body, and golden light lingered around him. In an instant, he transformed into a boundless devouring vortex. He had activated the sky-devouring mystic technique. Although the three-headed hound was strong, how could it compare to the Taotai, one of the four primordial beasts? If the three-headed hound was an ordinary wild dog, then the Taotai was a tyrant tiger of the forest. They couldn't be compared at all. The 4 primordial beasts were the 4 strongest beasts of the primordial age. They could kill the ancestral dragon and tear apart the true phoenix. The secret skill of devouring was the Taoye's innate divine ability, and was far more powerful than the devouring domain. As Ling Xiao used the secret skill of devouring, his body shone with dazzling light, and a mysterious primordial beast appeared behind him, capable of devouring the heavens and devouring the earth, capable of plucking the stars and grabbing the moon. Terrifying devouring power burst out, and the sea around him was swallowed by Ling Xiao like a whale swallowing the sea. The sea was formed by Yin Jiutian's god power, and now it was being devoured by Ling Xiao, which made him feel like his soul was about to leave his body. How is this possible? Yin Jiutian's eyes were filled with disbelief. The god power of the 3-headed hound was like poison, and even a deity wouldn't dare to touch it. Otherwise, the god power in his body would be corroded. Chapter 10:17. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook violently. The divine power in Yin Jiutian's body dissipated rapidly. In just a moment, the divine power that he had cultivated for hundreds of years was devoured by Ling Xiao. Bastard, you deserve to die. Yin Jiutian's eyes were full of anger. He gritted his teeth and the divine power in his body began to boil violently. A black divine power rose and began to burn fiercely. Yin Jiutian was decisive. If this continued, he was afraid that he would be sucked dry by Ling Xiao. Therefore, he decisively burned the divine power in his body, cut off Ling Xiao's devouring power, and took back the vast divine power. Want to leave? Not so easy. Take my sword. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The sky-devouring sword shone brightly and instantly appeared in his palm. It turned into a vast and bright river and suddenly slashed toward the 3 heads of Yin Jiutian. The sword was extremely fast and the cold killing intent locked onto Yin Jiutian, leaving him no room to escape. Block him. Yin Jiutian's face became fierce. He instantly slapped King Qingguang, who was next to him, and sent him flying toward Ling Xiao's sky-devouring sword. What? King Qingguang didn't expect that Yin Jiutian would push him out to block the sword. He was so angry that he trembled and wanted to curse Yin Jiutian. However, the sword had already arrived above his head, so he didn't have the slightest chance to curse. He could only suppress the resentment in his heart, and an ancient shield appeared in his hand. It emitted a powerful fluctuation of divinity, and he wanted to block Ling Xiao's sword. Crack! The sky-devouring sword hit the shield. Suddenly, dazzling light shone and runes exploded. The shield, which was originally extremely sturdy, was directly shattered by the sky-devouring sword. King Qingguang's eyes were full of disbelief. However, the sky-devouring sword had already fallen and cut him into 2 halves. Boom! King Qingguang's body directly exploded in the void. A bloody mist spread out. The extremely sturdy and bright godhead wrapped around King Qingguang's primordial spirit and tried to escape. However, Ling Xiao was already prepared. The wordless heavenly book flashed and directly swallowed King Qingguang's primordial spirit and godhead. To Ling Xiao, killing a normal demigod was a piece of cake. He had even killed a few demon gods, let alone a demigod. In Ling Xiao's opinion, the so-called demigod was full of flaws. Although a half-step divine being was stronger than a titled sovereign, a half-step divine being's body was still made of flesh and blood. Moreover, even if they refined the Godhead, they would not be able to fully integrate with the Godhead. They would be rejected by the origin mark of the Godhead. In the past, it might have taken Ling Xiao some effort to slay a half-step divine being, but now, he could slay any half-step divine being with a single slash. In this way, the miserable King Qingguang chose to betray the Samsara temple. Before he could reap any benefits, he was used as a scapegoat by Yin Jiutian. He was completely obliterated. All of you, go and hold him back for a moment. I'll use the secret technique to kill him. Yin Jiutian's eyes revealed a trace of cold killing intent as he transmitted his voice to Emperor Songdi and the other kings. Seeing that they were still hesitating, Yin Zhoutian sneered and said, "All you need to do is hold him back for 10 breaths of time. Otherwise, all of us will die." King Songdi and the other 7 kings looked at each other and their eyes were filled with determination. Ling Shao had killed King Qingguang so decisively. If Yin Zhoutian had failed, they would have died as well. Therefore, no matter what, Ling Shao had to die. If Ling Shao did not die, they would die. Boom! Emperor Songdi and the other kings soared into the sky instantly. Their flesh and primordial spirits were burning. With a trace of determination in their eyes, they pounced on Ling Shao at the same time. Yin Zhoutian's words seemed to have given them some hope. If the 7 of them joined forces, they should be able to hold Ling Shao back for 10 breaths of time. Therefore, the 7 kings made their moves directly. The evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply as he soared through the sky with the sky-swallowing sword in his hand. Rumble. The heavens and earth trembled. The 7 kings burned their flesh and primordial spirits. Their aura began to soar and their bodies exuded a terrifying energy fluctuation. They took out their most powerful weapons and charged toward Ling Shao. An octagonal golden hammer appeared in Emperor Songdi's hand. It contained unparalleled divine power and smashed toward Ling Shao. Swoosh! The sky-swallowing sword shone brightly and slashed toward Emperor Songdi. The octagonal golden hammer shone brilliantly. When the 2 weapons collided, millions of rays of light burst out. However, Ling Zhao's unparalleled divine power caused Emperor Songdi to tremble violently. The octagonal golden hammer almost flew out of his hand. Bang! Ling Shao kicked Emperor Songdi's chest, causing his chest to cave in. Emperor Songdi spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying by Ling Shao. Killing intent flashed in Ling Zhao's eyes. He wanted to kill Emperor Songdi with the sky-swallowing sword. The Chakravarti king soared through the sky and charged toward Ling Shao. A dazzling will rotated, containing a sharp radiance, and slashed toward Ling Zhao's neck. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred. Previously, Ling Shao had killed one of the clones of the Chakravarti king. Therefore, there was a huge grudge between the 2 of them. The Chakravarti king was extremely strong. That powerful wheel of his was especially so. It contained the power to cut through everything. It wanted to tear Ling Shao into pieces. Scram! Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with killing intent. He punched out and a terrifying fist print landed on the wheel. Instantly, the wheel trembled violently and was sent flying back. The Chakravarti king's face changed as he hurriedly controlled the wheel to retrieve it. However, a dazzling sword radiance mixed in with the wheel and instantly pierced through the Chakravarti king's chest. The violent sword chi exploded and shredded the Chakravarti king's body. Then, the King Heaven Devourer cauldron shone brightly and swallowed the Chakravarti king's flesh, blood, and primordial spirit. Seeing Ling Shao kill the Chakravarti king in the blink of an eye, Emperor Songdi and the other 5 kings were scared out of their wits. Rumble. However, Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was determined to kill all these kings. Moments later, King Pingdang and King Taishan were also killed by Ling Shao. Only Emperor Songdi, King Wuguan, King Yanluo, and King Biancheng were left. However, the 4 of them were like birds startled by the twang of a bow. Their faces were pale and they no longer had the slightest bit of fighting spirit. In the blink of an eye, Ling Shao had killed 3 kings. His strength had left them in despair. At this moment, Yin Zhoutian solemnly took out a black wooden doll. It spat out a mouthful of blood from its heart and its aura became weak instantly. The blood from the heart was swallowed by the wooden doll. Rumble. Chapter 10:18. Boom. The sky shattered and the wind howled. It was as if the world was about to be destroyed. Bolts of black lightning flashed and the tiny puppet floated into the air. Originally, the people of the Samsara temple were cheering for Ling Zhao's killing of the 3 great kings. However, the sudden appearance of the tiny puppet made them tremble in fear. It was as if their souls had been frozen by a terrifying force. "Who is that?" someone asked in a trembling voice. His eyes were filled with shock. The first elder, Zhu Biao, Pang Guzhan, and the others did not know the origin of the tiny puppet. However, they could all feel the terrifying aura it exuded. Yin Jiutian's expression turned grave. The tiny puppet had devoured the blood in his heart. He could barely activate the tiny puppet, but he still needed to chant a spell to activate it. Yin Jiutian chanted a spell and the mysterious syllables burst forth. The tiny puppet's evil qi grew stronger and stronger. It was as if a chilly wind had swept across the world, causing everyone's primordial spirits to tremble. Ling Zhao's eyes widened in shock. He had originally planned to kill the remaining 4 kings in one go, but when he saw the wooden figure, he immediately stopped. Ling Zhao did not know the origin of the tiny puppet, but he could recognize the 2 legs of the tiny puppet. They were 2 black bones that contained an extremely dark force. It was as if they were the source of the devil. They were evil, cold, and vast. The 2 pieces of black bones had the same aura as the black bones that Ling Zhao had obtained previously. Moreover, the black bones that Ling Zhao had obtained previously already had a head, a body, and 2 arms. It was only missing 2 legs. The 2 black bones in front of him were the missing parts of the tiny puppet. Moreover, Ling Zhao could tell that the tiny puppet's aura was so terrifying because of the power of the 2 black bones. Boom! The world shook violently. The tiny puppet was surrounded by a demonic light. As Yin Jiutian chanted a spell, the tiny puppet rose into the air and turned into a huge demon god. Its aura was extremely terrifying. His blood-red eyes contained a cold murderous intent, as if he wanted to destroy all life. It had to be said that the marionette's demon god form was very strong. Ling Zhao felt that even the demon gods in the sealed land could be easily torn to shreds, let alone demigods. Ling Zhao, you should be proud of yourself for forcing me to use my celestial fiend puppets. Go to hell, ha ha ha. Yin Jiutian's eyes were full of ferocity. He laughed wildly and looked at Ling Zhao as if he was looking at a dead man. The celestial fiend puppet, which was the humanoid puppet, was something he had obtained from an ancient ruin in the extraterritorial world. It was said to be a ruin left behind by the Great Calamity 1,000,000 years ago. The celestial fiend puppet was extremely terrifying. It required him to feed it with his heart and blood. Moreover, it required him to activate it with his skill. It contained an incomparably terrifying power that could easily tear a half-step divine spirit into pieces. Therefore, Yin Jiutian firmly believed that once the celestial fiend puppets appeared, Ling Zhao would definitely die. Whoosh! The celestial fiend puppet exuded an incomparably terrifying aura as it punched towards Ling Zhao. Young master, be careful! Shui Wei cried out in alarm. Her face was pale and her eyes revealed a trace of worry. Don't worry, this piece of rotten wood can't hurt your young master. Ling Zhao smiled faintly and his eyes were very calm. Ling Zhao was still worrying about not being able to find the 2 pieces of black bones. He did not expect Yin Jiutian to come knocking on his door. This celestial fiend puppet was indeed extremely terrifying. Even Ling Zhao was no match for it. Unfortunately, Ling Zhao had the wordless heavenly book and most of the black bones. Boom! Ling Zhao's glabella shone brightly and instantly shot out a dazzling light beam. The wordless heavenly book instantly soared into the sky and suppressed the celestial fiend puppet. The wordless heavenly book shone extremely brightly. Divine chains of order exuded a majestic and mysterious fluctuation, as if they were the heavenly Tao law. They shattered the surrounding void and filled the air with chaotic mist. Streaks of chaotic thunderbolts struck towards the celestial fiend puppet. Upon sensing the power of the wordless heavenly scripture, the celestial fiend puppet began to tremble violently. Especially the 2 pieces of black bones. They shone with a dazzling light, while streams of powerful devil Tao origin energy soared up, containing an extremely dark and evil power. Boom! The celestial fiend puppet exploded in the void. Only the 2 pieces of black bones were left, emitting a dazzling black light and contending with the wordless heavenly book. The celestial fiend puppet was nourished and nurtured by Yin Jiutian's painstaking efforts. Now that it had exploded, Yin Jiutian immediately suffered a great backlash. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his aura instantly became extremely weak. What? What is this? How can it resist my celestial fiend puppet? Yin Jiutian was completely dumbfounded. His eyes were filled with disbelief and he roared crazily. He had thought that once the celestial fiend puppet appeared, gods and devils would be easily defeated. No matter how strong Ling Xiao was, there was no doubt that he would be killed by the puppet. However, he did not expect Ling Xiao to have a trump card as well. Once the wordless heavenly book appeared, it actually shattered the celestial fiend puppet. In front of Ling Xiao's supreme treasure, the celestial fiend puppet was like a piece of paper. What shocked Yin Jiutian even more was that after the celestial fiend puppet was shattered, 2 pieces of black bones appeared. The 2 pieces of black bones contained an incomparably terrifying power that was even stronger than the celestial fiend puppet. They were actually on par with Ling Xiao's supreme treasure and were in a stalemate. Although Yin Jiutian was seriously injured by the backlash and did not understand what the 2 pieces of black bones were, he was now praying in his heart that the 2 pieces of black bones could suppress the wordless heavenly book. If so, he still had a chance of winning. Shui Wei, be careful. Ling Xiao was afraid that Shui Wei would be affected, so he put Shui Wei down and gently brought her to the side of the bronze sarcophagus. I'm fine. Young master, you have to be careful. Shui Wei's eyes were filled with worry. Not only Shui Wei, but all the people of the Samsara temple were also extremely shocked. In the void, the wordless heavenly book and the 2 pieces of black bones were in a stalemate, exuding an incomparably terrifying power. Streaks of divine light flashed across the void, as if they could turn everything into dust. Everyone was trembling all over, feeling incomparably oppressed. The wordless heavenly book shone with dazzling light. It was extremely strong and mighty. Divine chains of order intertwined, trying to completely suppress the 2 pieces of black bones. Chapter 10:19. Boom! The wordless heavenly book suddenly glowed brightly and pressed down on the 2 pieces of black bones. However, the black bones were not to be outdone and resisted. Black devil chi surged as if it wanted to turn the wordless heavenly book into a part of the devil chi. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and a stone box appeared in his hand. The black bone dwarf was in the stone box. Bang! Bang! Ling Xiao could feel that the black bone dwarf was hitting the stone box, as if it was looking forward to the 2 pieces of black bones. Ling Xiao instinctively felt that if he opened the stone box, something out of his control would happen. Therefore, he suppressed his curiosity and kept the stone box. Yin Jiutian, go to hell. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he charged toward Yin Jiutian. Yin Jiutian's greatest reliance, the celestial demon puppet, had been destroyed by the wordless heavenly book. Now that he was severely injured, he was no match for Ling Xiao. Bastard! Yin Jiutian gritted his teeth and his eyes were full of depression. He was about to vomit blood. Whether it was the Cerberus or the celestial demon puppet, they were all restrained by Ling Xiao. Yin Jiutian looked at Ling Xiao with unwillingness and fear. He even had a premonition that if he continued to stay here, he would most likely die in Ling Xiao's hands. Boom! Yin Jiutian's eyes flashed with killing intent and he punched toward Ling Xiao. Dark divine power rose and his punch burst out with terrifying power, as if he wanted to fight Ling Xiao to the death. Ling Xiao also punched out with a dazzling fist print. Suddenly, the 2 fists collided, causing the heaven and earth to tremble and the void to shatter. Yin Jiutian was sent flying hundreds of feet away by Ling Xiao's punch. A cold killing intent flashed in his eyes and he took advantage of the unparalleled divine power to pounce on Shui Wei. Yin Jiutian knew that he was no match for Ling Xiao. However, he could not leave the Samsara temple without the Samsara platform. Therefore, the only thing he could do was to capture Shui Wei. Perhaps this could make Ling Xiao hesitate. "You're courting death." Killing intent flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. He instantly teleported to Yin Jiutian at an extremely fast speed. The sky-swallowing sword was shining brightly. It pierced through the void and slashed toward Yin Jiutian. At this moment, Shui Wei was recuperating beside the bronze coffin. She did not expect that Yin Jiutian would suddenly attack her. She could not help but be stunned. Almost instantly, Yin Jiutian rushed in front of Shui Wei with a ferocious look and reached out to grab her. Boom! At this moment, a dazzling light burst out from the bronze coffin and turned into an unparalleled divine power, crashing into Yin Jiutian's body. Puff! Yin Jiutian trembled as if he had been hit by an immemorial mountain. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his eyes were filled with disbelief. However, Yin Jiutian threatened the lives of all my tribesmen. I had no choice. I'm not really loyal to the traitor Yin Jiutian. Please forgive me, Saintess. King Songdi's voice was pitiful and sincere. He knew that Shui Wei's temperament was cold, but she was the kindest. He did not dare to beg Ling Xiao for mercy. He was afraid that Ling Xiao would kill him, so he came to Shui Wei to beg for mercy. He hoped that Shui Wei would be soft-hearted and let him go. King Wuguan, King Yanluo, and King Biancheng cursed in their hearts when they saw King Songdi's shameless begging. However, they followed suit and knelt down in front of Shui Wei to beg for mercy. Each one was more miserable than the other. Despicable and shameless. Holy Maiden, we must not let them go. These traitors who bully their masters deserve to die. Kill them. Many experts of the Samsara temple said indignantly. They looked at the four kings with contempt and disdain. Shui Wei opened her eyes and looked at the four of them indifferently. She said, "You may be able to survive a heaven-sent disaster, but you will not be able to survive a self-inflicted disaster." The four kings trembled, and their eyes were filled with terror. They wanted to continue begging for mercy, but Ling Xiao had already arrived behind them. Chapter 10-20. Ling Xiao's eyes were cold as he appeared behind the four kings, exuding a cold and blazing killing intent. Swoosh! The sky-swallowing sword shone brightly as it slashed down toward the four kings. Although the four kings were all half-step divine spirits and were extremely powerful, they no longer had the will to fight. They had lost their courage and were no match for Ling Xiao. Soon, they were all killed by Ling Xiao. Yin Jiutian and the 9 kings were killed, and so were the people they had brought with them. They were all killed by the Samsara army and the experts from the Panga clan. The entire Samsara temple was bathed in blood, and the air was filled with a thick smell of blood. However, everyone's face was filled with joy at surviving the calamity. The reincarnation sacrificial ceremony was a life-or-death tribulation for the Samsara temple. Yin Jiutian had been plotting for a long time to take complete control of the Samsara temple and become the master of the Samsara world. Yin Jiutian's strength was beyond everyone's imagination. If Ling Xiao had not appeared at the last moment, the entire Samsara temple would have fallen into Yin Jiutian's hands. Boom! The sky-swallowing sword in Ling Xiao's hand shone brightly as it slashed down. It shattered the formation orb and released Zhu Ganglai from within. Although the formation orb was a powerful unique treasure, it could not withstand the power of the sky-swallowing sword. It was easier to break it from the outside, so it was easily destroyed by Ling Xiao. Buzz! The giant bronze coffin shone brightly in the distance and enveloped Shui Wei. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stand floated above Shui Wei's head, exuding a mysterious and vast aura. These 2 powerful divine weapons were left behind by the first Samsara saintess. They contained immense power and could control the life and death of the Jiu Empire and the 10 kings. After refining these 2 treasures, Shui Wei would be the real Samsara saintess. Ling Xiao had risked his life to come into contact with the giant bronze coffin and obtained more than 100 ancient runes from it. They contained a mysterious power that Ling Xiao could not decipher. Ling Xiao could vaguely feel that the ancient runes were related to the secret skill of fate that he had obtained. At this moment, the ancient runes floated around Shui Wei, emitting a mysterious power. They actually made Shui Wei's power grow stronger and stronger. Rumble. Around Shui Wei's body, the ice-sealing divine power slowly floated. It contained a power that could freeze everything, sealing her in ice. Shui Wei's body emitted a majestic aura of life and death. They intertwined and formed a perfect balance. This is the power of bloodline. Ling Zhao's eyes widened in shock. He could faintly sense an incomparably terrifying power awakening within Shui Wei's body. With the help of the bronze coffin, her strength had become even more powerful and terrifying. It's really a great fortune. The fact that she was able to awaken such a special constitution in the worldly realm is simply unprecedented. This girl's future is limitless. Zhu Ganglai walked to Ling Zhao's side and sighed softly. Oh. Do you know Shui Wei's constitution? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he asked Zhu Ganglai. Shui Wei is the legendary sacred reincarnation physique. The sacred reincarnation physique is one of the top constitutions even in the god realm. It contains the mysterious power of reincarnation. It is said that after the sacred reincarnation physique is completed, one can live and die with a single thought. It is extremely terrifying. Zhu Ganglai said slowly, his eyes filled with amazement. I remember that only the first-generation sacred reincarnation maiden had the sacred reincarnation physique. Moreover, the sacred reincarnation physique is extremely domineering. Even in the god realm, it requires the careful protection of a supreme expert to awaken it. Shui Wei was able to awaken the sacred reincarnation physique in the worldly realm. This is a fortune and also a test. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he asked, why did Shui Wei awaken the sacred reincarnation physique in the worldly realm? I'm not sure about this either. I'm afraid it's because of the ancient bronze coffin. The ancient bronze coffin's origin is too great. I can't say. Zhu Ganglai said slowly as he stared at the ancient bronze coffin. Do you know the origin of the ancient bronze coffin? Ling Zhao asked. I can see that the ancient bronze coffin, the bone dragon, the bone phoenix, and the Yin soldiers were left behind by a powerful existence. It looks like an ancient formation, but I can't see through it. However, the ancient bronze coffin might be related to Shui Wei. Zhu Ganglai said. Will Shui Wei be in danger? Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of worry. He could feel that the ice-sealing divine power emanating from Shui Wei's body was getting stronger and stronger. It was extremely terrifying and contained a power that seemed to be able to freeze everything. The vitality in Shui Wei's body was also extremely weak. It was like a candle flame in the wind that could be extinguished at any time. Ling Zhao knew that Shui Wei was awakening the sacred reincarnation physique, but unfortunately, he couldn't intervene at all. He could only let Shui Wei overcome it herself. It's hard to say. Zhu Ganglai also frowned and said, the sacred reincarnation physique is one of the strongest sacred physiques in the divine world. Those who possess the sacred reincarnation physique are all exceptional geniuses. However, only the divine realm can withstand the power of the sacred reincarnation physique. It's not that there aren't any mortal physiques that have awakened, but it's too rare. However, with the help of the ancient bronze coffin, Shui Wei might be able to awaken it smoothly. Ling Zhao was also a little anxious, but he couldn't do anything about it. The ancient bronze coffin emitted a vast and majestic green light. Runes and ancient characters spread out and enveloped Shui Wei. Shui Wei floated in the void with the 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stage floating above her head. Her body emitted a mysterious aura as she fell into a mysterious cultivation state. Ling Zhao, long time no see. King Chujiang and Chu Qianqian also walked over at this time. Chu Qianqian's face was slightly red as she looked at Ling Zhao and said, King Chujiang, Princess Qianqian, thank you for your help this time. Ling Zhao said with a smile. King Chujiang still fought bravely at the last moment and didn't betray them like King Songdi and King Qingguang. This made Ling Zhao think highly of him. Speaking of which, this old man is ashamed to have trusted King Qingguang and King Songdi wrongly. Fortunately, young friend Ling Zhao's combat strength is extraordinary and his talent is unparalleled. It's the great fortune of the Samsara Temple to be able to wipe out the rebellion. King Chujiang said with a sigh. No matter what, the Samsara Temple will not forget the kindness of the two of you. The Saintess is still cultivating and can't send you back to the Samsara Great World for the time being. Please rest with this old man in the Samsara Temple for a while. The Great Elder said with a smile as he walked over. All right. King Chujiang said with a nod. Chapter 1021. Boom. Shui Wei's body glowed brightly as she was completely sealed in ice by the vast ice seal divine energy. The power that she exuded became more and more terrifying until it almost covered the entire square. Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai sat cross-legged on the outside to protect Shui Wei. Although the power that Shui Wei exuded was extremely terrifying, Ling Xiao could feel that the power had not gone out of control. It was still within Shui Wei's control, so he gradually relaxed. In Ling Xiao's small world. This was a vast and majestic chaotic world. The galaxy was dazzling, and the mountains and rivers were magnificent. It was vast and contained an extremely powerful space energy. Generally speaking, the small world in an ordinary honorable being's body was only about 10,000 miles in radius. Even the small world in a titled honorable being's body would not exceed 10,000 miles in radius. However, the small world in Ling Zhao's body was extremely vast. It had already reached a radius of 1 million miles and was still expanding. This was the small world that Ling Xiao had created using the Aries art. It contained the power of the heaven-devouring secret skill and was extremely mysterious and unique. Such a vast small world allowed Ling Zhao's combat strength to surpass that of an ordinary titled honorable being. At this moment, Ling Xiao took out the stone box and the 2 black bones that he had obtained from the celestial demon puppet. Swoosh! As the stone box opened, a vast and terrifying black divine light gushed out. The black bone miniature man in the stone box instantly shot up into the sky, spewing out billions of rays of vast black light as it trembled violently. The 2 black bones shone brightly as they flew up into the sky and merged with the black bone miniature man. As Ling Xiao had expected, the 2 black bones were the 2 legs that the black bone miniature man was missing. In this way, the head, body, arms, and legs were all complete. The blackbone miniature man was like a demon god as it exuded a vast and terrifying aura. It floated in Ling Zhao's small world, causing it to tremble violently. Rumble. The black divine light was extremely vast, like a chain of order that traversed the void. The blackbone miniature man shone brightly as it exuded a dark, evil, and terrifying light. Even Ling Zhao's primordial spirit could not help but tremble when it sensed the blackbone miniature man's aura. Mysterious patterns appeared on the blackbone miniature man's body. Whoosh! At this moment, the wordless heavenly book in Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness suddenly charged into Ling Zhao's miniature world. It radiated with a vast and terrifying power as it began to suppress the blackbone dwarf. In an instant, the heavens and the earth began to roar. Space trembled as chaotic mist filled the air. Moreover, it was accompanied by the sound of thunder that filled the sky. The wordless heavenly book and the blackbone dwarf, one white and one black, collided intensely in the void. The wordless heavenly book had devoured the dark sky demon god and the dog demon god in the sealed land, Yin Jiutian, and the 8 lords in the Samsara temple. It had accumulated a vast amount of power and was about to manifest a powerful secret skill. However, the power accumulated by the wordless heavenly book was rapidly being depleted as it clashed with the blackbone dwarf. It was as if it had been sucked dry. Ling Xiao had never seen the wordless heavenly book behave like this before. It was as if it had encountered a mortal enemy, and it was using all its strength to suppress the blackbone dwarf. Wang! The blackbone dwarf trembled slightly. The dark aura that gushed out of its body was like the source of the demonic Tao. It contained a power that could extinguish all life. Moreover, the blackbone dwarf's face became clearer and clearer. Its tightly shut eyes looked as if they were about to open at any moment. Rumble. Divine chains of order swept across the sky like a vast power of lightning and engulfed the black-bone dwarf. Without Ling Xiao activating it, the wordless heavenly book shone brightly and suppressed the black-bone dwarf. It was even depleting the source of the wordless heavenly book. The terrifying power fluctuation made Ling Xiao's scalp tingle. What exactly is the black-bone dwarf? Ling Xiao was in disbelief as he watched the battle between the wordless heavenly book and the black-bone dwarf. Rumble. Inscriptions appeared on the black-bone dwarf's body. It was as if it was a vast world that contained an incomparable power of darkness. Behind the black-bone dwarf, there seemed to be hundreds of millions of demonic gods. They roared at the same time and charged toward the wordless heavenly book. The wordless heavenly book shone brightly. Divine chains of order turned into lightning and struck the demonic gods. The demonic gods were reduced to ashes. However, the demonic gods were endless and contained a terrifying and domineering power. They seemed to be endless and were constantly depleting the power of the wordless heavenly book. Rumble. Behind the black-bone dwarf, there seemed to be a black world that rose and collided with the wordless heavenly book. Suddenly, the world rumbled and the void trembled. The wordless heavenly book trembled violently and was sent flying by the black-bone dwarf. The wordless heavenly book's radiance dimmed. The black-bone dwarf seemed to know the power of the wordless heavenly book and wanted to break through the void and escape. Swoosh! Divine chains of order shot out from the wordless heavenly book and intertwined with each other. They contained a terrifying power and firmly bound the black-bone dwarf. The wordless heavenly book seemed to be fighting with all its might like a human. A vast and ancient power suppressed the black-bone dwarf. Although the black-bone dwarf struggled violently, it was unable to escape. In the end, the wordless heavenly book completely suppressed the black-bone miniature man. The vast darkness origin energy was completely integrated into the black-bone miniature man. The black-bone miniature man turned back into a very ordinary stone puppet and fell from the void. On the other hand, the wordless heavenly book was greatly damaged. It trembled as it flew back into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. All the energy it had accumulated had been used up. Ling Xiao picked up the black-bone dwarf. It was cold to the touch. Ling Xiao could not help but tremble. The black-bone dwarf's face became clearer and clearer. It actually looked similar to Ling Xiao. What is this black-bone dwarf? Ling Xiao was shocked and confused. However, he could imagine that the black-bone dwarf must be an unimaginable treasure to be able to resist the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he took out the black-bone dwarf. He looked at Zhu Ganglai and asked, Zhu Ganglai, do you know what this is? The black-bone dwarf in Ling Xiao's hand looked very ordinary. It was like a stone statue carved from a piece of black stone. It was very crude. However, when Zhu Ganglai saw the black-bone dwarf, his body trembled violently. He cried out as if he had seen a ghost, how do you have this thing? His voice was extremely excited and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Oh. It seems that you recognize this thing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with light. Zhu Ganglai carefully took the black-bone dwarf. It was like he was looking at a priceless treasure. His eyes burned with passion. Chapter 1022. This is the origin demon bone. Zhu Ganglai said solemnly. His eyes were full of shock and excitement, as if he couldn't believe it and was a little envious. What is the origin demon bone? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked. Zhu Ganglai carefully looked at the black-bone dwarf, then said, Master, I don't know the origin of the origin demon bone, but I know that the origin demon bone is a supreme treasure in both the demon world and the celestial world. Since ancient times, the number of times an origin demon bone has appeared is extremely rare. But, anyone who obtains an origin demon bone will eventually become a proud son of heaven, a saint who enlightens all living beings, or a supreme great emperor who rules over an era. Ling Xiao's eyes shook, and he said in disbelief, the origin demon bone is so precious. What use does it have? Zhu Ganglai smiled bitterly and said, I'm not very clear about this. This was because in the legends, every origin demon bone had a different effect. There were ancient saints that were able to obtain an origin demon bone and create a great world. There were also people that were able to obtain an origin demon bone and swallow it, instantly becoming a transcendent saint. There were also people that were able to comprehend transcendent divine abilities and ultimate skills from the origin demon bone. There were even people that were able to use the origin demon bone to comprehend the source of the universe and become an emperor, ruling over an entire era. The legends of the origin demon bone are very popular in both the demon world and the celestial world. Even the legendary saints would covet your origin demon bone. Master, you can forget about the origin demon bone in the mortal world, but once you step into the celestial world, you can't reveal it. Otherwise, you will be killed. Zhu Ganglai said with a serious look. Then how do you know this is the origin demon bone? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and he looked at Zhu Ganglai suspiciously. Zhu Ganglai said, Master, according to legend, the origin demon bone contains the power of the universe's origin. It is vast and mysterious. The demon realm's demon emperor is said to have obtained the origin demon bone. My family has some strength in the demon realm, so I can also sense a trace of the origin demon bone's aura. Master's black bone dwarf is very similar to the origin demon bone in the legends. Although I can't be sure, there is a 90% chance. As for its use, Master needs to slowly explore it. Zhu Ganglai reluctantly handed the black bone dwarf to Ling Xiao. All right. Ling Xiao looked deeply at Zhu Ganglai. If Zhu Ganglai was able to recognize that this was an origin demon bone, then his origins weren't simple at all. However, Ling Xiao also knew that to be able to fight against the wordless heavenly book and even injure it greatly, this black bone dwarf's origin was extremely extraordinary. According to Zhu Ganglai, all the origin demon bones had different appearances and effects. Ling Xiao still had to figure out what the black bone dwarf could do with them. However, I do have an idea. Why don't you give it a try? Zhu Ganglai looked at Ling Xiao carefully and said hesitantly. Oh. What idea? Master, perhaps you can refine it into an avatar. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. External incarnation. Zhu Ganglia's words gave him an idea, but he still needed to think about it carefully before he could put it into practice. That's right. Zhu Ganglai said, it's an avatar. In the realm of the gods and the devil realm, there are many experts who use all kinds of heavenly treasures to refine their avatars. Firstly, it's to protect their lives, and secondly, it's to increase their battle strength. Low-grade external incarnations were like magic treasures after they were successfully refined. They didn't have any growth potential. Middle-grade external incarnations could cultivate and grow together with the main body after they were successfully refined. However, their growth potential was extremely small. A high-grade avatar is almost exactly the same as the main body after it's refined. It's even more talented than the main body. However, due to the restrictions of the heavenly Tao, it can only reach the Divine King realm at most. The best grade avatar has no restrictions. Its talent surpasses the main body, and its future is limitless. However, there's a restriction to the best grade avatar. That is, its cultivation can't exceed the main body by too much. Otherwise, there's the danger of a backlash. If the origin demon bone in your hands can be refined into an origin demon bone, it'll definitely be a top-grade avatar. It'll be equivalent to having an extra life, and you'll have more confidence in becoming a saint in the future. A top-grade avatar. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He had to admit that Zhu Ganglia's idea had moved him. After it's refined, the origin demon bone's talent will definitely surpass his body. Not only will it greatly increase his battle strength, but it'll also give him an extra life-saving method. This idea was extremely feasible, but refining the origin demon bone into an avatar wouldn't be easy. Good. I got it. Ling Xiao nodded and closed his eyes. In the small world, Ling Xiao began to probe and figure out the function of the origin demon bone. He wanted to see how he could refine it into an avatar. However, a month passed. No matter how Ling Xiao tried, even trying to fuse his primordial spirit into the origin demon bone, he failed. The source demon bone was impervious to everything, as if it were a dead object. Could it be because the wordless heavenly book sealed it? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He recalled that after the wordless heavenly book suppressed the origin demon bone, there seemed to be a powerful sealing force that suppressed the origin demon bone. It seems that I can't be anxious now. The wordless heavenly book is too damaged. Once it recovers some strength, I'll use it to slowly unseal the origin demon bone before continuing to try. Ling Xiao secretly thought to himself. Ling Xiao now had the wordless heavenly book, but the power of the wordless heavenly book was faintly resisting the origin demon bone. If he could refine the origin demon bone into an avatar, then he could practice martial arts at the same time. It would definitely save Ling Xiao a lot of time, and his cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds. However, all of this would take time. After a month, Shui Wei gradually woke up. Bright green light filled the air. The 6 paths of reincarnation sword and reincarnation stage merged into Shui Wei's body. Shui Wei also slowly opened her eyes. His eyes were dazzling, deep, and vast. They seemed to contain an expanse of a dark vortex that intended to devour everything. Even Ling Xiao and Shui Wei looked at each other, and their hearts trembled slightly. Those eyes didn't seem like those of a human. They were like those of a god king, a saint, a heavenly emperor, overlooking everything and controlling the life and death of all living things. Shui Wei's aura also became colder and colder. Her body was surrounded by black ice sealing divine power. Perhaps it could also be called the reincarnation divine power. Chapter 1023. Young Master. After a while, the vast aura on Shui Wei's body returned to normal. Her eyes were filled with surprise as she rushed over and hugged Ling Xiao. Young Master, you're fine. That's great. Shui Wei murmured softly. Shui Wei, I'm fine. Everything is over. Do you know what happened to your body? Ling Xiao patted Shui Wei's back, and the fragrance of her virginity wafted into Ling Xiao's nose. Feeling the warmth in his arms, Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of warmth. That's strange. Shui Wei's reincarnation physique hasn't been fully awakened. That's strange. Is it because she's in the mortal world and can't sense the laws of the godly realm? At this moment, Zhu Gonglia's surprised voice was heard. The reincarnation physique hasn't been fully awakened? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He could feel that Shui Wei's aura was very strong. However, there seemed to be an even more terrifying power hidden in her body that she hadn't absorbed or refined. You're saying that I have the reincarnation physique? How is that possible? Isn't the 9 nether bloodline in my body? Shui Wei suddenly trembled. Her face turned pale and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Shui Wei had always thought that she had the 9 nether bloodline in her body. Even in the past month, under the protection of the bronze coffin, the power in her body had awakened. Shui Wei had always thought that it was the power of the 9 nether bloodline. However, the words, reincarnation physique, seemed to have triggered a nerve in her, causing her face to turn pale. Shui Wei, what's wrong? Ling Xiao asked curiously. Young Master, the Samsara Temple has been passed down for millions of years. There have been hundreds of generations of Samsara saintesses. It is said that only the first Samsara saintess had the reincarnation physique. The subsequent Samsara saintesses all refined the godhead of the first Samsara saintess and were able to use part of the power of Samsara. They didn't have the reincarnation physique. Shui Wei said slowly. Her face turned even paler. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Shui Wei's words were obvious. The previous Samsara saintess, who was Shui Wei's mother, couldn't have the reincarnation physique. However, Shui Wei had the reincarnation physique. There were only 2 possibilities. First, Shui Wei's father was the reincarnation physique. Secondly, the previous saintess of Samsara was not Shui Wei's mother. The saintess is right. The previous saintess of samsara had the bloodline of 9 serenities, but she didn't have the saintess of samsara. An old man sighed. The great elder walked over from afar with a hint of excitement and joy in his eyes. Oh! Could it be that the great elder knew something? Who was the husband of the previous generation's saintess? Ling Xiao asked the great elder. The first elder sighed and shook his head. Actually, the previous saintess of samsara did not have a husband. So the saintess is not the daughter of the previous saintess of samsara. First elder's words caused Xue Wei to involuntarily tremble all over. Ling Xiao supported Xue Wei and stared at the first elder with a burning gaze. How did the first elder know? Furthermore, the previous saintess of samsara died in the war god Great World. How would Great Elder know if the previous saintess of samsara gave birth to a child in the war god Great World? This matter concerned Xue Wei's background. Even Ling Xiao had to be cautious. Because before the previous saintess of samsara died, she sent back a message with a divine thought that recorded some secret information. Therefore, I am certain that Xue Wei is not the daughter of the previous saintess of samsara. What? Great Elder, why have you never told me this before? Xue Wei exclaimed in shock. Her expression was extremely ugly. She had never heard of this before. The Great Elder took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with incomparable agitation. Saintess, please listen to my explanation. Everyone knows that the first saintess of samsara established the samsara temple and passed down the empire of 9 serenities and the 10 kings of the 10 halls. However, no one knows that the first saintess of samsara had a daughter. However, the battle a million years ago was too tragic. Even the first saintess of samsara could not protect herself, let alone her daughter. Before the first saintess of samsara died, she sealed her daughter away. However, no one knows where she is. The samsara temple is not only responsible for defending against the demon race. In the past million years, all the saintesses have been searching for the first saintess of samsara's daughter. Unfortunately, after a million years of searching and turning the entire samsara world upside down, we still could not find her. 10,000 years ago, before the previous saintess of samsara died, she sent back a message telling me that she had found the first saintess of samsara's daughter in the war god Great World. However, because the first saintess of samsara's daughter had just broken free from the seal and lost all her cultivation, she was targeted by the enemy. Therefore, before the previous saintess of samsara died, she used her origin energy and countless treasures to seal her daughter away. She also added a layer of seal to her memory. At the same time, she told us to go to the war god continent's 8 desolates region 10,000 years later to bring the first saintess of samsara back and inherit the position of saintess. 10 years ago, the samsara beast brought the saintess back. However, after our inspection, we found that the saintess did not have the saintess of samsara. Therefore, I kept this matter to myself and did not say anything. Who would have thought that the saintess of samsara would finally awaken the saintess of samsara? At the end of his speech, the great elder was already in tears. His voice was choked with emotion. So, Xue Wei is the first saintess of samsara's daughter and her memory has been tampered with. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. That's right. Xue Wei is indeed the first saintess of samsara's daughter and the true master of the samsara temple. Her memory has not been tampered with, it has been sealed. When the saintess fully awakens the saintess of samsara, the sealed memory will naturally return to her. The great elder took a deep breath and said. Xue Wei's face was pale without a trace of blood. She obviously could not accept this result. Xue Wei had finally accepted her identity, but now, the great elder said that Xue Wei's background and memory were fake. If it was an ordinary person, they would have broken down long ago. However, Xue Wei could not blame anyone. Her body was cold as she held Ling Zhao's hands tightly. Her eyes were filled with heart-wrenching pain as if she was grabbing onto her last life-saving straw. Xue Wei, be good. Everything will pass. Now that we know about your background, although it is cruel, you must be strong. Do you understand? Ling Xiao caressed Shui Wei's hair tenderly as he pulled her into his embrace and spoke gently. If Shui Wei is the first saintess of Samsara's daughter, does the great elder know who Shui Wei's father is? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he stared at the great elder. Chapter 1024. The first elder bitterly smiled and shook his head. I don't know about this, but I have some guesses. Legend has it that 1,000,000 years ago, the war god of the war god Great World and the first reincarnation saintess had a very good relationship. They fought side by side. With the first reincarnation saintess status, if she had a husband, I'm afraid only the war god would be worthy of her. You mean, the scarlet dragon god of war? Ling Xiao's eyes widened in shock, revealing a trace of horror in them. If what first elder said was true, then Shui Wei was the daughter of the scarlet dragon god of war and the first saintess of Samsara. This news was too shocking. Moreover, Ling Xiao remembered that in the war god world, the war god temple would do anything to catch Luoluo. They believed that Luoluo was the daughter of the scarlet dragon god of war. Between Shui Wei and Luoluo, who was the daughter of the scarlet dragon god of war? The truth was getting more and more confusing. First elder, do you know how many children the first saintess of Samsara and the scarlet dragon god of war had? Ling Xiao asked quickly. First elder said slowly, it's been too long. But it's rumored that the first saintess of Samsara only had one daughter. Only one daughter? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He slowly said, Great elder, you know that I am from the war god Great World. And in the war god Great World, there is a suspected daughter of the scarlet dragon war god. She has always been pursued by the war god temple. Her name is Luoluo. Ling Xiao told first elder about Luoluo. There's such a thing. The grand elder was shocked as well. First elder thought for a while and said seriously, young friend Ling, the daughter of the first saintess of Samsara must be Shui Wei, and she must have the saintess of Samsara. As for the girl named Luoluo, I don't know who she is. If you have any questions, you can investigate carefully. This was very important to both Shui Wei and Luoluo. Ling Xiao nodded. Only after he returned to the war god Great World would he be able to find out the truth. Saintess, the first saintess of Samsara left a place. Perhaps you should go and take a look. First elder looked at Shui Wei and said slowly. What place? Shui Wei said calmly, but her long eyelashes trembled. I don't know. It's a sealed space that can only be opened by the body of reincarnation. There should be something left for you by your mother. The great elder sighed and said. All right. Shui Wei nodded. Under the lead of the first elder, Ling Xiao and Shui Wei arrived at the waist of the mountain. The surroundings were filled with clouds and mist. There was a cave halfway up the mountain. An ancient stone door was tightly sealed, and it was emitting an incomparably powerful energy fluctuation. Reincarnation Realm. Shui Wei looked at the 3 words above the cave and was slightly lost in thought. Young master, can you accompany me in? Shui Wei suddenly felt a little scared as she grabbed Ling Xiao's hand tightly. All right, I'll accompany you. Ling Xiao smiled. No. The first elder suddenly spoke up to stop him. Saintess, young friend Ling, only those with the reincarnation sacred physique can enter the reincarnation cave. Others can't enter at all. If you force your way in, I'm afraid you'll be in big trouble. The first elder's eyes were filled with solemnity. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he carefully looked at the reincarnation cave. He was proficient in array formations. After a careful look, he realized that this place indeed required some kind of special bloodline power to open. Even if Shui Wei wanted to bring him along, he probably couldn't enter. All right. Shui Wei, listen to me. Go in yourself. There shouldn't be any danger here. There should be some information about your background inside. Ling Xiao smiled. Young master, I have a premonition that if I enter this reincarnation cave, I'm afraid I won't be able to come out in a short period of time. Young master will find Grandpa Zhu when the time comes. He will bring you back to the war god Great World. Young master, you don't have to wait for me. I only hope that young master can find Sister Jean Sei as soon as possible. After I come out of seclusion, I'll definitely go to the war god Great World to find young master. Shui Wei suddenly turned around and said. Her eyes were filled with reluctance to part with him. All right. Shui Wei, I'll wait for you here for a month. After a month, if you still haven't come out, I'll return to the war god Great World first. There are still a few demon gods left in the sealed land. I'll take care of them along the way. I can rest assured that you're in seclusion here. Ling Xiao nodded. Now that the matters in the reincarnation world had been settled, Shui Wei wouldn't be in any danger even if she stayed behind. On the contrary, the war god Great World was filled with danger. The current war god was unfathomable. Even Ling Xiao wasn't confident that he could defeat him now. It was safer for Shui Wei to stay here. Young master, you must take care of yourself. Shui Wei looked deeply at Ling Xiao before turning around and walking towards the reincarnation cave. Buzz! Shui Wei's body emitted streaks of black reincarnation divine light. The entire reincarnation cave trembled slightly. Finally, the 3 words on the reincarnation cave spewed out multicolored light. It was dazzling and instantly enveloped Shui Wei. Shui Wei disappeared before everyone's eyes. Ling Xiao looked at the place where Shui Wei disappeared and suddenly felt a sense of loss. Next, King Chujiang and Chu Qianqian came to bid farewell to Ling Xiao. With the 9 Nether Emperor and the 9 Hall Kings killed, the reincarnation world would definitely fall into chaos. However, the reincarnation temple didn't intend to interfere and let it develop. After all, after the devil race in the sealed land was completely settled, the reincarnation temple didn't need to control the world anymore. King Chujiang also intended to pass the throne to Chu Qianqian. On the top of the mountain, clouds drifted. Ling Xiao and Chu Qianqian stood side by side. Ling Xiao, I didn't expect you to be from the war god Great World. You came to my reincarnation world and killed the gods and devils. You're already the number 1 person in the reincarnation world. Congratulations. Chu Qianqian looked at Ling Xiao with a complicated gaze. Princess Qianqian is too kind. After this farewell, I don't know when we'll meet again. I would like to ask Princess Qianqian for a favor. Ling Xiao smiled. Oh. What's the matter? Lu Shui, of the Xianping tribe has helped me. She's in the Chujiang royal region. Princess Qianqian has seen her before. I hope Princess Qianqian can help me take care of her. Chu Qianqian smiled and said, Don't worry. I'll take good care of her. Thank you very much. The road is long. Princess Qianqian, we'll meet again. Ling Xiao cupped his hands and bowed to Chu Qianqian. We'll meet again. Chu Qianqian looked at Ling Xiao deeply. There was a hint of resentment in her eyes. It was as if she wanted to engrave him in her heart forever. Then, she gently turned and left. Master, according to the words of the human race, you've betrayed another woman who loves you. Zhu Ganglai appeared behind Ling Xiao and said slowly. Ling Xiao's body stiffened. Then, he turned around and glared at Zhu Ganglai. What do you know? Meeting is better than reminiscing. This affection is too heavy. I can't accept it. How can you say that I betrayed her? Besides, what does that mean? Ling Xiao smiled bitterly in his heart. How could he not see Chu Qianqian's affection? But he really couldn't accept it. Now, his heart couldn't hold anyone else other than Jean Sei. Zhu Ganglai said innocently, Master seems to be affectionate, but your heart is actually very hard. Can't you see that Shui Wei likes you too? Or are you deliberately pretending not to see it? Ling Xiao's body trembled. He couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 1025. Did Shui Wei like Ling Xiao? The answer to this question was very clear. Ling Xiao knew it himself, but he had been deceiving himself and avoiding it. After his rebirth, Shui Wei could be said to be the person closest to Ling Xiao. She had accompanied Ling Xiao for more than 10 years. No matter how lonely or difficult it was, no matter if Ling Xiao was a good-for-nothing or a genius, Shui Wei had always treated him wholeheartedly. Ling Xiao, who had separated from his parents very early on, had only had Shui Wei as his only source of warmth and light in the long night. Therefore, to a certain extent, Shui Wei was even more important than his parents in this life. Since Ling Xiao had awakened the memories of his previous life, he cherished this pure feeling even more. He cherished Shui Wei and cared for and cherished her as if she was his biological sister. However, there was always one person in Ling Xiao's heart that he loved the most. That person whom he had been separated from for more than 10,000 years, whom he had missed day and night. Jinsei. Ever since he knew that Jinsei was in the Origin Sea, Ling Xiao's motivation and goal for cultivation had been to enter the Origin Sea as soon as possible and meet Jinsei. This time, he had come to the reincarnation world by chance and found Shui Wei. Ling Xiao could feel that kind of feeling from Shui Wei. Although she carefully hid it, she could not hide the joy and love that overflowed from her gentle eyes. How could Ling Xiao not be moved? However, he carried too much on his shoulders and could not let Jinsei down. Therefore, he could only harden his heart and pretend that he did not know Shui Wei's feelings. You stupid pig, you know so much. However, I have no choice. Sigh. Get ready. We will go to the sealed place and then return to the war god Great World. Ling Xiao glared at Zhu Ganglai. In the end, he could only laugh helplessly. Yes. Zhu Ganglia's eyes rolled around as he chuckled. Before Shui Wei entered the time cave, she had left the reincarnation platform behind. The reincarnation platform was a supreme treasure that could lead to the reincarnation world and the sealed place. It contained the secrets of time and space and was very powerful. Moreover, with the reincarnation platform, even if a demon god broke out of the seal, he would not be able to enter the reincarnation temple. Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai led the Samsara army and the many experts of the Pangu clan into the sealed land in a formidable array. Originally, Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai could have swept through the entire sealed land. However, this time, they wanted to bring the Samsara army and Pangu clan experts here to train their troops. They wanted to completely annihilate the devil tribe in the sealed land. After the strongest dark sky demonic god was killed by Ling Xiao, only 8 demonic gods were still hiding in the seal, struggling to survive. Ling Xiao's wordless heavenly book had been severely damaged because of the suppression of the origin demon bone. At this moment, he could refine these demon gods to replenish his energy. Within a month, Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai killed the 8 great demon gods one by one, and all of them were devoured and refined by the wordless heavenly book. The Samsara army and the experts of the Pangu clan also destroyed the 10 devil tribes, and the flesh, blood, and primordial spirits of all the devil tribes were devoured and refined by the wordless heavenly book. The flesh, blood, and primordial spirits of the 8 great demon gods and tens of millions of devil tribe experts were a feast for the wordless heavenly book, and its damaged energy began to gradually recover. In the end, Ling Xiao searched through the sealed land, and in addition to the devil seal tablets that Shui Wei had given him, he gathered a total of 600 devil seal tablets. After these 600 devil seal tombstones were gathered, they actually merged together and formed a black devil seal tombstone. Its aura was extremely powerful, and it contained a powerful sealing force. Moreover, Ling Xiao could faintly feel that this devil seal tablet was not complete. If he could gather enough devil seal tablets and merge them into it, it would definitely be an unimaginable treasure. Ling Xiao carefully inspected the devil seal tombstone before putting it away. Master, these demonic gods are really aggrieved. The weakest of them is in the divine spirit realm, and most of them are in the true god realm. Even the dark sky demonic god was an expert in the divine god realm. It's a pity that he was severely injured and sealed here for 1,000,000 years. His cultivation is not even 1% of his original. That's why they all died in your hands. Zhu Ganglai sighed softly. Are you saying that I'm not strong enough, so I took advantage of them? Ling Xiao glanced at him and said. Hee, how would I dare? Master is wise and mighty, and your combat power is extraordinary. You can already kill gods in the mortal realm. This kind of peerless talent is also rare in the divine world. Isn't it easy to kill a few small gods? However, if that demonic god king is really sealed in the war god great world, Master must be careful. Zhu Ganglai chuckled. However, when he mentioned that demonic god king, his eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and said, Oh. Is that demonic god king very powerful? Not just ordinary powerful, but extremely powerful. The Scarlet Dragon War God and the first-generation reincarnation Saintess were strong enough, right? They were also in the Divine King realm. Unfortunately, they were unable to kill that demonic God King and could only seal him. Among the 10 great demonic God Kings a million years ago, this one was the strongest. Zhu Gonglia's eyes revealed a trace of seriousness. What's his name? Ling Xiao asked faintly. Bo Sun. Zhu Ganglai solemnly spat out 2 words. Bo Sun. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He felt that this name seemed to have a mysterious power. That's right. Back then, Bo Sun was known as one of the peerless geniuses of the demon realm. He was known as a peerless powerhouse who would definitely be able to prove his Tao and become a saint. He even had hopes of becoming a demon emperor. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. Then, after being sealed for 1,000,000 years, how much strength do you think he has left? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This was also the question he was most concerned about. Divine King was the peerless king of the divine world. It sounded somewhat despairing. The difference between humans and gods was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was almost impossible for a mortal realm powerhouse to defeat a divine spirit, let alone a divine king powerhouse. The demonic god king is unfathomable. Even if he only has a 10,000th of his strength left, killing the dark sky demon god would be like slaughtering a dog. There was a trace of worry in Zhu Gonglia's eyes as he said solemnly. Although he didn't say it clearly, Ling Xiao understood that if the demonic god king broke out of the seal, it would be very easy for him to kill Ling Xiao. This question sounded despairing. Then, who would be able to fight against the demonic god king? Then, how can we kill the demonic god king? Ling Xiao asked calmly. Master has the wordless heavenly book, which can greatly restrain the demonic god king. However, this is not enough. I estimate that even if the demonic god king's strength is less than 100%, Master must at least break through to the divine realm to be able to fight him. Zhu Ganglai said. Break through to the divine realm? The divine realm's gate is closed. Can one really become a god in this mortal world? Chapter 1026. It's almost impossible. But. Zhu Ganglai was hesitant. But what? Ling Xiao asked. In the mortal world, there is still a chance to become a god. That is the path of becoming a god with one's physical body. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. Becoming a god with one's physical body? That's right. The physical body can break the limits of heaven and earth, shatter the vacuum, and penetrate the realm of gods. However, becoming a god with one's physical body is more difficult than becoming a god with laws. Even in the realm of the gods, very few people take this path, let alone in the mortal world. All right. I understand. Ling Xiao's eyes glinted as he nodded his head. Zhu Ganglai seemed to have seen through Ling Xiao's thoughts and reminded him, Master, I know that your physical body is very strong. You have the bloodline of the Dragon Clan and the supreme technique of the Dragon Clan. However, it's far from enough to become a god with your physical body. You must break the limits of your physical body. Although it's difficult to become a god with one's physical body, one's strength is terrifying. Legend has it that a god with one's physical body can defeat anyone in the same realm as him. Ling Xiao looked at Zhu Ganglai and asked, I see that your physical body is very strong, even stronger than mine. Are you taking the path of becoming a god with your physical body? Zhu Genglai laughed bitterly and said, how is that possible? The path of becoming a god with one's physical body is too difficult. Even I can't do it. It's just that our clan's physical body is stronger. Moreover, after breaking through to the realm of the gods, the divine law and the endless divine spiritual energy will nourish the physical body, making it stronger and stronger. It's not much different from becoming a god with one's physical body. Therefore, very few people would take the effort to become a god with their physical body. Alright, I understand. Let's leave the sealed land first. Ling Xiao nodded and said. He bade farewell to the great elder and the many experts of the Panga clan and asked them to continue to wipe out the demons and kill any that escaped. Then, he returned to the Samsara temple with Zhu Genglai. The reincarnation realm was still closed and Xue Wei showed no signs of coming out. Ling Xiao sighed and came to the netherworld's sacred river through the reincarnation realm. An old man with white hair and beard floated above the vast Yellow Springs sacred river. He had a benevolent look, and his eyes were deep and wise. Beside him was the fat and honest Zhu Biao. Ling Xiao already knew that Zhu Biao's true form was also a reincarnation beast. Moreover, he was Zhu Lan's grandson. Young friend Ling, you're here. Zhu Lan looked at Ling Xiao calmly and said softly. That's right. Today, I'll have to trouble Elder Zhu to bring me back to the war god Great World. Ling Xiao cupped his hands towards Zhu Lan and said. With Ling Xiao's current cultivation, it was not difficult for him to travel through the samsara world and return to the war god Great World. However, Ling Xiao did not have the coordinates of the war god Great World. In the end, it was very likely that he would be lost in the endless turbulence of space. Ling Xiao, my grandfather was severely injured by Yin Jiutian. He hasn't fully recovered yet, so he can't bring you back to the war god world. However, my grandfather will give you the coordinates of the war god Great World. With your cultivation, there shouldn't be any danger in crossing the void. Zhu Biao said to Ling Xiao. Thank you. I dare not trouble Elder Zhu to bring me back. Having the coordinates is enough. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Whoosh! A light flashed in Zhu Lan's hand. In an instant, a ray of light flew towards Ling Xiao and landed in his hand. It turned into a black stone. Young friend Ling, this is a spiritual stone of the underworld. It contains a trace of aura that I have sealed. It can guide you directly back to the war god Great World. However, between the samsara world and the war god Great World, there is a barren ruin. It is a relic from the Antiquity Age. There might be some powerful creatures from the Antiquity Age. Young friend Ling, you must be careful. Zhu Lan said slowly. He told Ling Xiao some things about returning to the war god Great World. The war god Great World and the samsara world were millions of miles apart. When Zhu Lan first brought Ling Xiao here, it took nearly a year. Ling Xiao might need even more time to return to the war god Great World alone. Especially the relic between the two worlds. It was full of danger and there were some terrifying creatures. Looking at Zhu Lan's serious expression, Ling Xiao knew that those creatures were above the immortal state. Ling Xiao became more cautious. He cupped his hands towards Zhu Lan and said, Thank you, Elder Zhu. You're welcome. Speaking of which, the Samsara Temple's disaster is all thanks to you. This grandson of mine is also planning to go to the war god Great World. I hope young friend Ling can take care of him. This old man will be very grateful. Zhu Lan pointed at Zhu Biao and said with a smile. No problem. Ling Xiao said with a smile. For some reason, Ling Xiao felt that Zhu Biao was hostile towards him. Master, this brat seems to like Xue Wei too. I can feel that he is very unhappy with you. Why don't we beat him up halfway and teach him a lesson? Zhu Genglai chuckled as he sent a telepathic message to Ling Xiao. Don't cause trouble. Ling Xiao glared at him and felt a little helpless. Although Zhu Genglai was a demon god, he had a pair of sharp eyes. He had an extremely accurate grasp of people's hearts. It was as if he could see through people's thoughts. Zhu Biao in front of him had always been by Shui Wei's side. Naturally, Ling Xiao would not pick on him because of Zhu Biao's hostility. On the contrary, Ling Xiao felt that this guy was honest and kind of cute. Biao, after you go to the war god Great World, don't be willful. Listen to young friend Ling, okay? Zhu Lan looked at Zhu Biao sternly. Grandfather, I know. Zhu Biao said in a muffled voice. All right. Young friend Ling, I will now open a path for you. It should be able to send you to the ruins. You will have to walk your own path in the future. Zhu Lan said with a smile. Rumble. Zhu Lan exuded a vast and terrifying divine power, and the underworld's sacred river trembled violently. The void in the distance shattered like a mirror, and chaotic mist filled the air. A dazzling divine rainbow filled the air, forming an ancient path. The path was like a rainbow bridge. It was filled with chaotic qi and shone brightly. It traversed hundreds of millions of miles of the void as if it was connected to a mysterious world. Young friend Ling, please. Zhu Lan said with a smile. Thank you, Elder Zhu. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. As soon as Zhu Lan attacked, he realized that Zhu Lan looked very strange. When he attacked, divine power gushed out. It was vast and terrifying. He was clearly a godly realm expert. However, most of Zhu Lan's vast divine power seemed to be sealed. Only a small portion could be used. His strength was stuck at the peak of the human Tao. He did not have the power of a godly realm expert. The godly realm and the power of the human Tao were indeed strange. Ling Xiao was puzzled, but he did not show it on his face. He smiled and bowed to Zhu Lan. Then, he led Zhu Ganglai and Zhu Biao onto the bright rainbow bridge. Grandpa, take care of yourself. Zhu Biao's eyes were full of reluctance. He looked deeply at Zhu Lan, his eyes red. Then, he resolutely turned and left. Rumble. The void trembled. The bright rainbow bridge disappeared instantly. Heaven and earth returned to normal. Ling Xiao, Zhu Ganglai, and Zhu Biao had disappeared in front of Zhu Lan. Biao, I hope you can break the fate of our clan. Only by following him will you have hope. Chapter 1027. In the vast and boundless starry sky, darkness and loneliness were the eternal themes. A dazzling heavenly road spanned hundreds of millions of miles, leading to a faraway place. The light was dazzling, illuminating the surrounding darkness. Ling Xiao, Zhu Ganglai, and Zhu Biao had been on this heavenly road for nearly a month, but they still hadn't reached the ancient ruins that Zhu Lan mentioned. The sky was high and far, and it was all darkness. Occasionally, a star would appear, but it didn't have any signs of life. It was incomparably lonely. The reincarnation world and the war god world were two major planes, separated by an endless starry sky. This was Ling Xiao's first time in the starry sky. He saw the extreme brilliance of the starry sky, but he also saw the eternal loneliness and loneliness. Ling Xiao, don't you want to know why grandfather wants to send us to the ancient ruins? Zhu Biao finally couldn't hold back and asked Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao smiled and said, I thought you could hold back and not say it. If you want to say it, then say it. With Ling Xiao's current cultivation, how could he not feel that they were taking a long detour according to the Yellow Springs Spirit Stone that Zhu Lan gave him? In other words, they didn't need to go to the ancient ruins at all and could return to the reincarnation world directly. However, Ling Xiao instinctively felt that the ancient ruins that Zhu Lan mentioned should be very important, so he walked on the heavenly road and headed towards the ancient ruins. Zhu Biao smiled bitterly and said, so you know. The ancient ruins are very important to me, and also very important to you. Oh. What's so important about it? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Because the ancient ruins have the opportunity to become a god. Zhu Biao said solemnly. What? Ling Xiao's eyes were also shocked. Zhu Biao's words were indeed somewhat out of his expectations. Zhu Biao explained, I know this news is indeed a little unbelievable, but the ancient ruins are not simple. Because in the ancient ruins, there's a mountain called Kuan-Wu Mountain. Legend has it that it's a divine mountain of the God world and contains divine Dao laws and all kinds of treasures. If we can go through the baptism of the divine Dao laws of Kuan-Wu Mountain, perhaps we can become gods in this mortal world. Kuan-Wu Mountain. Divine Dao laws. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This news was indeed incomparably shocking. Now that the gate of the God world was closed, if there was really a Kuan-Wu Mountain in the ancient ruins as Zhu Biao said, then it was really a great opportunity and fortune. Master, if there are divine Dao laws, then you can naturally become gods. However, my guess is that even if there is a Kunwa sacred mountain, the divine Dao laws contained within it are not complete. Even if one can become a god, they would only be a false god. Zhu Gonglia's eyes flashed as he slowly spoke. No matter what, this is still a glimmer of hope. It's worth a try, isn't it? Zhu Biao's eyes were filled with excitement. Good. Let's go find the Kuan-Wu Mountain. Ling Xiao said slowly. Ling Xiao, the primordial relic is a place even more ancient than the catastrophe a million years ago. It's said that it's a relic from the primordial divine demon war. There are many strange and powerful beings there. We must be careful. Zhu Biao reminded. Ling Xiao nodded. The three of them continued to walk on the heaven's path, passing through the endless starry sky. A few days later, a light flashed in front of them, and a floating ancient continent appeared. It was a land of deathly stillness. It was shrouded in a black mist and floated in the starry sky. It was at least 10 million miles in radius and was extremely huge. Around the continent, there were many corpses of powerful gods and demons, weapons, and even ancient ferocious beasts. Their flesh and blood had disappeared, leaving only their shiny skeletons. Broken stars floated in the air, giving off a tragic and terrifying aura. When Ling Xiao and the other two got closer, they could still feel the energy fluctuations that made their hearts tremble. That's the corpse of a black tortoise. Zhu Biao suddenly exclaimed. At the edge of the continent, there was a black tortoise floating in the air. The tortoise and snake coiled around each other with ancient patterns. It was shrouded in black evil qi, and its face looked ferocious. It was lifelike, as if it was a living ancient divine beast. However, Ling Xiao could sense that the black tortoise was filled with a deathly aura. It had been dead for countless years. It was only because it was too powerful that its corpse was preserved in perfect condition. However, there was a black spear nailed to the black tortoise's head, giving it a fatal blow. This is a divine realm black tortoise. How could it die here? Zhu Ganglai was also shocked. He didn't expect there to be such a place under the starry sky. There's more over there. Ancient soaring serpent, tyrant tiger, immortal fire bird, Pishio. These are all ancient divine beasts and ferocious beasts. How could there be so many of them? Zhu Biao was completely shocked. Behind the giant black tortoise, in the starry sky at the edge of the continent, there were many terrifying divine beasts' corpses floating in the air. There were so many ancient divine beasts, but they only existed in legends. Now that they finally saw the corpses of real divine beasts, the three of them couldn't help but feel that it was unreal. Ling Xiao, this is the ancient ruins. But the layer of demonic fog outside is extremely terrifying. Back then, my grandfather narrowly escaped death to enter it. We must be careful. There are many terrifying existences in the ancient ruins. Zhu Biao said solemnly as he stared at the layer of black fog outside the continent. The ancient ruins were indeed too shocking. There were so many lifelike divine beasts' corpses that had survived for countless years. It's a pity that although these divine beasts' corpses look lifelike, there's no life in them. Otherwise, these divine beasts' corpses would be priceless treasures. Whether it's their flesh, blood, or bones, their value is immeasurable. Zhu Ganglai also said with some pity. He could see that these divine beasts' corpses were filled with a deathly aura. Even if the corpses were taken down, they would have lost their divinity and could no longer be refined into treasures. Let's go in and take a look. Everyone, be careful. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply. He led Zhu Ganglai and Zhu Biao and flew slowly towards the ancient ruins. Rumble. The layer of black fog outside the continent was turbulent and vast. It rose like the sea and contained a terrifying energy fluctuation. There were even streaks of black lightning that intertwined as if it could destroy everything. Ling Xiao and the other two cautiously approached the periphery of the black fog. Just as they were about to enter, the black fog churned and actually transformed into an incomparably terrifying figure, pouncing towards Ling Xiao and the other two. Chapter 1028. Rumble. The void trembled violently. The black mist transformed into a black overlord tiger. Its body was like a mountain, exuding an incomparably terrifying aura. Its eyes were like blood moons, filled with cold killing intent. The overlord tiger pounced towards Ling Xiao and the other two, as if it wanted to devour heaven and earth. Ancient battle spirit. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This overlord tiger was not a physical entity. It was a battle spirit formed by the combination of the overlord tiger's mark and the black mist. It retained the essence of the overlord tiger's fighting spirit and was incomparably powerful. Looking at the power of this overlord tiger, it was at least a divine realm expert when it was alive. Boom! Ling Xiao punched out, and a golden fist print came crashing down. It contained an invincible force that could destroy everything, and it slammed into the overlord tiger's body. How strong was Ling Xiao's physical body now? Even the overlord tiger's battle spirit could not withstand the power of Ling Xiao's attack, and it was instantly blasted into black mist. However, Ling Xiao's punch was like poking a hornet's nest. The surrounding black mist rose up, and several powerful battle spirits appeared in an instant, pouncing towards Ling Xiao and the other two. Ling Xiao, be careful. These battle spirits are extremely powerful. You must defeat them in an instant, and then rush straight into the ruins. Otherwise, once you're surrounded by them, you'll be in trouble. Zhu Biao warned. Rumble. Ling Xiao punched out a few more times, causing the heavens and earth to shake violently. The golden fist print was like a vast sun, containing a trace of the aura of the heaven-devouring fire. It was extremely strong and powerful. Although those fighting spirits were strong, they were all transformed from Yin spirits. They were most afraid of yang flames like the sky-devouring fire. Therefore, those few powerful fighting spirits were killed by Ling Xiao with one punch as soon as they rushed over. Roar! A loud roar resounded through the heavens and earth. The black mist in the distance was like a wave, and it instantly parted. A huge fierce beast battle spirit flew out from it, exuding an aura that made people tremble. This is the black tortoise battle spirit? Not good, let's go. Zhu Ganglia's expression changed as he cried out in alarm. The ferocious beast battle spirit in front of him had a tortoise and a snake coiled around it. It was tens of thousands of feet tall and its entire body was pitch black. It let out a shocking roar and looked exactly the same as the corpse of the black tortoise. As soon as the black tortoise fighting spirit appeared, a black fist came crashing down. Rumble. It was as if the sky and earth had been turned upside down. The black fist print contained a power that could crush everything. Master, this is Tortoise Fist. We are no match for it. Let's go. Zhu Ganglai let out a strange cry. Black Tortoise Fighting Spirit. Kill. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and he threw a punch at the black tortoise fighting spirit. The devouring fire exploded and turned the entire area into a sea of fire. Bang! When the two fists collided, the sea of flames that filled the sky was swept away. Even Ling Xiao was sent flying by the black tortoise fighting spirit. Roar! The black tortoise fighting spirit pounced forward once again with its mouth wide open. Like a black whirlpool, it charged towards the three of them. Open up! The devouring sky sword in Ling Xiao's hand shone brightly and shot up into the sky. Terrifying energy erupted from his body and the devouring sky sword turned into a huge sword radiance that was tens of thousands of feet long. It was sharp and unparalleled. It was like the Milky Way that fell from the 9 heavens as it slashed towards the black tortoise fighting spirit. Puff! The black mist exploded and the black tortoise fighting spirit was split into two by Ling Xiao's sword. The terrifying sea of black mist around them began to boil violently. However, before Ling Xiao could heave a sigh of relief, the black mist surged and shone brightly. The black tortoise fighting spirit had reformed. It can't be killed. Zhu Ganglai and Zhu Biao both cried out in surprise. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He had used all the energy in his body to launch that attack. However, he did not expect the black tortoise fighting spirit to be immortal. It had once again formed a fighting spirit body. Roar! 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 The black mist rose and a few terrifying beastly roars could be heard. A vast aura filled the air as if another powerful fighting spirit was about to form. Ling Xiao knew that he could not delay any longer. Otherwise, once the countless fighting spirits were alerted, no matter how strong the three of them were, they would die here. Wang! The space between Ling Xiao's eyebrows shone brightly and a beam of light shot up into the sky. The wordless heavenly book instantly appeared above their heads and protected them as they flew rapidly into the black mist. With the protection of the wordless heavenly book, the speed of the three of them became extremely fast. Even the black tortoise fighting spirit could not catch up to them. It could only watch as the three of them charged into the black fog and entered the primordial ruins. This was an extremely desolate continent. Above their heads was an endless starry sky. Below their feet were yellow soil, ruins, and all sorts of broken weapons. There were even the bones of giant beasts. In the distance, there was a barren mountain range, but there was no sign of life. The Kunwas sacred mountain should be in the center of this continent. Zhu Biao pointed at the center of the continent in the distance. Alright, let's speed up. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He could feel that this continent was not simple. It was able to float in the endless starry sky for hundreds of millions of years. This really piqued his interest. However, this continent was not very big. It only had a radius of 10 million miles. The three of them flew at top speed and arrived at the depths of the continent in less than a day. Rumble. In front of them, there was a huge mountain range that stood at the top of the sky. It was like a divine pillar that connected heaven and earth. One could not see the end of it. The mountain was enveloped by a resplendent divine light. Chaotic mist permeated the air, and the starlight that filled the sky sprinkled onto it. It gave off an aura of eternity. Moreover, there was no sign of life on this continent. However, this sacred mountain was lush and full of vitality. There were many towering ancient trees, and they could even faintly hear the roars of powerful beasts coming from it. The scene in front of them was so strange that it was hard to fathom. This is the Kunwas sacred mountain. Zhu Biao's eyes revealed a trace of excitement. The Kunwas sacred mountain. Why do I feel that this doesn't look like a mountain, but more like a huge ancient tree? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as such a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. This thought gave him a big fright. If it was really not a mountain but an ancient tree, then this tree was probably even more terrifying than the Path Understanding tree. Could it be the legendary world tree that connected the mortal realm and the divine realm? Ancient tree. How can there be such a huge ancient tree? You're thinking too much. This is the Kunwas sacred mountain. It's the sacred mountain of the realm of the gods. It contains the powerful laws of the divine path. Chapter 1029. Has your grandfather entered the Kunwas sacred mountain before? What's in the Kunwas sacred mountain? Ling Xiao smiled faintly and didn't argue with Zhu Biao. He was most concerned about what was in the Kunwas sacred mountain. Zhu Biao nodded and said, "Grandfather has entered the Kunwas sacred mountain before. However, the Kunwas sacred mountain is too strange. There are talking stones, plants that have turned into spirits, and even the 100-flower fairy who can transform into a beauty. However, their strength is incomparably terrifying. When grandfather entered the Kunwas sacred mountain, he was severely injured by a rabbit that had turned into a spirit. After that, the rabbit fled. However, grandfather also sensed that the Kunwas sacred mountain contains powerful divine Tao laws that can allow one to attain Tao and become a god. Talking stones? Plants that have turned into spirits? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. Plants and rocks were restricted by the divine Tao laws. Even if they were bathed in the essence of heaven and earth for millions of years, it would still be difficult for them to have spirituality or even cultivate. Just like the path understanding tree that Ling Zhao obtained in his previous life. Its strength was incomparably terrifying, but it only had a vague consciousness. It was impossible for it to have spirituality like a human, let alone cultivate on its own. If plants and rocks could turn into spirits and cultivate, perhaps only the legendary realm of the gods could have such a strange scene. In that case, the Kunwas sacred mountain was indeed extraordinary. Master, Zhu Biao should be right. I can also sense that there seems to be some kind of strange divine Tao on the Kunwas sacred mountain. It's very similar to the divine Tao laws. Zhu Ganglai said slowly. Let's go in and take a look. All of you be careful. Ling Zhao looked at the seemingly peaceful Kunwas sacred mountain and said slowly. Whoosh! The three silhouettes flew towards the Kunwu holy mountain at lightning speed, and soon disappeared in the dazzling divine light. Not long after Ling Zhao and the other two entered the Kunwas sacred mountain, a group of uninvited guests arrived on the continent. 3 bronze coffins emitted a vast and powerful aura. They passed through the heavy black fog and arrived on the continent. Whoosh! 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 The bronze coffins flashed and a group of dignified young men flew out. They then stood respectfully on the ground and bowed to the 3 bronze coffins. Taoist Zhai Xing, Fairy Wang Yue, after 1,000 years, we meet again. One of the bronze coffins flashed, and an old man with white hair and beard slowly sat up. He held a horsetail whisk in his hand and wore a hemp robe. He opened his eyes, and 2 terrifying rays of light pierced through the void. His voice was old and deep as he looked at the other 2 bronze coffins. Wang! The 2 bronze coffins also shone brightly. The lids of the coffins slowly opened, and 2 figures flew out from within. One of them was a middle-aged Taoist who wore a starry Taoist robe. His face was clear and he looked extraordinary. He carried an ancient sword on his back and his robe fluttered in the wind. The other was a woman in a white dress. Her entire body was enveloped by the bright moonlight. She looked extremely beautiful and peerless. Her eyes were cold and deep, as if they contained the power to see through people's hearts. They were Taoist Zhai Xing and Fairy Wang Yue. Elder Qinghua, long time no see. If it weren't for the ripening of the divine origin fruit, I'm afraid we wouldn't have come to this ruin. Taoist Zhai Xing glanced at the old man in the hemp robe indifferently. His eyes flickered with a sharp light as if there was a bright sword ray that was about to break open the world. Taoist Zhai Xing, your celestial deity vanquishing sword seems to have improved. Congratulations. Elder Qinghua said with a smile. He looked kind and amiable, and it was easy for people to get close to him. However, Taoist Zhai Xing and Fairy Wang Yue stood side by side. Their eyes were filled with vigilance. They knew how terrifying Elder Qinghua's strength was. Moreover, this person was ruthless. Every time they came to pick the divine origin fruit with him, they had to be extremely vigilant. You flatter me. No matter how strong my celestial deity vanquishing sword is, I'm afraid it can't be compared to your primordial chaos sword Qi. Let's cut to the chase. The 2 of us want 60% of the divine origin fruit this time. Taoist Zhai Xing looked at Elder Qinghua indifferently and said. Fairy Wang Yue stood beside him. Her eyes were cold and she didn't say anything. 60%? Your appetite is getting bigger and bigger. I think it's better to follow the previous rules and split it 50-50. Elder Qinghua frowned slightly. Although he was still smiling, his smile had turned cold. Elder Qinghua, the divine origin fruit was discovered by the three of us together. However, you want to take 50% of it. You're going too far. This time, the two of us only want 60%. Speaking of which, you're taking 40%. You're taking advantage of us. Taoist Shai Xing said indifferently without giving in. Ha ha ha. It seems like the expansion of the Star Moon Palace in the past 1,000 years has made your appetite bigger and bigger. Alright, since that's the case, I'll give you 60%. Elder Qinghua suddenly laughed and looked at Taoist Shai Xing and Fairy Wangyue deeply. If that's the case, let's enter the mountain. Disciples of the Star Moon Palace, listen up. After entering the Kunwa's sacred mountain, you can only move within 3,000 feet. You're not allowed to go beyond 3,000 feet. Those who disobey will have their cultivation crippled and be expelled from the sect. Taoist Shai Xing looked at the group of young disciples below and said, Yes, Ancestral Master. The young disciples cupped their hands and bowed. Their eyes were filled with excitement. This time, the Star Moon Palace had sent a total of over 100 disciples. Other than the dozen or so Supreme Being experts, the rest were all at the half-step Supreme Being level. In the past, every time they entered the Kunwa's sacred mountain to cultivate, they could quickly reach the Supreme Being level. Therefore, those who could come to the ruins were all genius disciples of the Star Moon Palace. The disciples of the Qinghua Palace can also move within 3,000 feet. If you don't listen to the Ancestral Master doesn't need to expel you from the sect. The ferocious beasts in the Kunwa's sacred mountain will eat all of you. Alright, let's go. Old man Qinghua said with a smile. Whoosh! Whoosh! The disciples of the Star Moon Palace and the Qinghua Palace quickly flew towards the Kunwa's sacred mountain under the lead of the three experts. In the Kunwa's sacred mountain, there were towering ancient trees and old vines entwined around. There were countless exotic flowers and herbs. The spiritual energy here was very abundant. It had even turned into a white spiritual mist that floated in the mountain forest. It was ethereal and otherworldly. Ling Xiao and the other two entered the Kunwa's sacred mountain and had already climbed more than 1,000 feet. Along the way, they encountered several dangers. There were powerful primordial variants and powerful primordial divine arrays. However, they were all resolved by Ling Xiao and the other two. Moreover, Ling Xiao also realized that the higher they went into the Kunwa's sacred mountain, the greater the danger they encountered. This Kunwa's sacred mountain is not simple. It actually has a hidden space that nurtures so many primordial variants. I wonder if there are any real divine beasts on the mountain. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he looked at the huge mountain forest above him and said slowly. Based on this trend, there might really be divine beasts. Zhu Ganglai said as he looked around curiously. Along the way, they had killed many primordial variants. Many of them could even tear a Supreme Being apart and were extremely terrifying. However, all of them had died in the hands of Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai. Zhu Biao's cultivation had also reached the 6th level of the Supreme Being realm. After entering the Kunwa's sacred mountain, he felt that the speed of his cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. Based on this speed, it wouldn't take long for him to break through to the peak of the 9th level of the Supreme Being realm. It wouldn't be difficult for him to break through to the titled Supreme Being realm. Chapter 1030. Roar. Suddenly, an angry roar rang out from the forest, causing the surrounding space to tremble. Several towering ancient trees were instantly blown to smithereens. It was a black leopard. Its black fur was like silk, and it looked to be over 100 feet tall. It was like a small mountain, and its eyes shot out a dark blue light. It shot out from the forest like a sharp sword, and its body was surrounded by bolts of black lightning. It suddenly pounced towards Ling Xiao and the others. Its black mouth opened wide, and its claws shone with a sharp light. Its eyes looked extremely cruel, as if it was going to tear Ling Xiao and the others to pieces in the next moment. Heaven-ripping leopard. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He actually saw another archaic mutant. However, he stood in place and did not move. He looked very calm. Zhu Ganglai, on the other hand, roared angrily and charged forward. You're courting death. Boom! Zhu Ganglia's nine-toothed rake shone brightly. The 9 teeth seemed to be able to pierce through the heavens and earth. It carried a gust of wind as it slashed towards the heaven-ripping leopard. Clang! The heaven-ripping leopard was extremely fast. It was like a bolt of black lightning, and it dodged Zhu Ganglia's 9-toothed rake by a hair's breadth. Its sharp claws slammed onto the rake. Immediately, sparks flew everywhere. A surge of divine power exploded between Zhu Ganglai and the heaven-ripping leopard, causing both of them to retreat at the same time. What a powerful heaven-ripping leopard. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This heaven-ripping leopard seemed to only have the cultivation of a supreme being, and it did not seem to have any intelligence. However, its body emitted a powerful fluctuation of divinity, allowing it to possess a terrifying amount of divine power. Zhu Ganglai also noticed this, and a strong desire to battle appeared in his eyes. Although his strength had been greatly reduced, he still had the battle strength of an ordinary immortal. If he could not even kill a beast, it would be too embarrassing. Zhu Ganglia's competitive spirit was aroused, and he immediately threw a punch towards the heaven-ripping leopard. Kacha! The void trembled slightly. Zhu Ganglia's punch was extremely condensed, and it actually made the heaven-ripping leopard feel a sense of danger. It did not even think about it, and it turned into a bolt of black lightning and moved away. A towering ancient tree was blasted to smithereens by Zhu Ganglia's punch. The heaven-tearing panther's sharp claws were like blades as it slammed down towards Zhu Ganglai. Boom! It was as if Zhu Ganglai had eyes on the back of his head, and he reached out with his palm. One of the heaven-tearing panther's claws was caught by Zhu Ganglai. Without waiting for the heaven-tearing panther to move, Zhu Ganglia's divine power exploded. He swung the heaven-tearing panther up and smashed it down. The mountain shook violently, but the Kunlun godly mountain was incomparably sturdy. The heaven-tearing panther only smashed a small hole in the ground, causing the heaven-tearing panther to howl in grief. Boom! 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 Zhu Ganglia's god power exploded. He swung the sky-tearing leopard and smashed it on the ground over 100 times. Even though the sky-tearing leopard had thick skin, it was still dizzy, and its internal organs were all damaged. Puff! The 9-toothed rake struck down and nailed the heaven-tearing panther's head to the ground. Fresh blood spurted out, and the heaven-tearing panther let out a miserable howl as it was killed by Zhu Ganglai. Master, the primordial species in the Kunlun godly mountain are indeed very strong. However, their flesh and blood contain powerful god power. If you can consume them for a long period of time, it can also increase the limits of your body, although it may not be obvious. Zhu Ganglai heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile as he pointed at the heaven-tearing panther that he had killed. That's right. The bodies of these demonic beasts do contain a vast amount of god power. Even if I don't consume it, I can bring it back to my disciples and let them be reborn. It's indeed a good thing. Ling Xiao said with a smile as he kept the heaven-tearing panther's corpse. Ling Xiao, the Kunlun godly mountain is indeed full of danger. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to reach 10,000 feet. However, the last time my grandfather came, he found a natural spiritual root ice heart tea tree at 20,000 feet. It can cleanse one's Tao heart and allow one to be reborn. Although it's only a quasi-divine medicine, it has the potential to become a divine medicine. We can go into seclusion at the ice heart tea tree and see if we can gain anything. Zhu Biao said as he glanced at Ling Xiao. Ice heart tea tree. There's such a good thing. Let's go take a look. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The ice heart tea tree was also a natural spiritual root in ancient legends. It was a supreme divine medicine. Even if the ice heart tea tree that Zhu Biao mentioned was only a quasi-divine medicine, it was still extremely precious. The most important thing about the ice heart tea tree was that it could allow one to enter a state of thoughtlessness. It could cleanse one's inner demons, understand oneself, and choose the path one wanted to walk. If one had a divine medicine ice heart tea tree, it could even help one become a divine medicine. Even a quasi-divine medicine ice heart tea tree would be of great use to Ling Xiao at this moment. Ling Xiao was prepared to use the secret skills recorded in the wordless heavenly book as the foundation to recreate the 7 limits divine skills of devouring heaven and destroying earth. The 4 elephant sky striking style was based on the ancestral dragon secret skill, the true phoenix secret skill, the black tortoise secret skill, and the white tiger secret skill. However, Ling Xiao had only just created it. If he could obtain the ice heart tea tree, perhaps Ling Xiao would be able to recreate this style completely. If the 4 elephant sky striking style was fully recreated, its power would be enough to slay a divine medicine tree. Under Zhu Biao's lead, Ling Xiao and the other 2 slowly headed up the mountain. Along the way, they encountered many powerful primordial ferocious beasts and even various dangers and traps. Ling Xiao and the other 2 passed through without any mishaps. After all, Kunwa Divine Mountain was 1,000,000 feet tall and connected heaven and earth. The area within 3,000 feet could only be considered the foot of the mountain and was not considered too dangerous. Soon, Ling Xiao and the other 2 approached the place that Zhu Biao mentioned. In front of them was a valley shrouded in clouds and mist, but Ling Xiao could feel an incomparably terrifying aura emanating from the valley. There were powerful ferocious beasts guarding the valley. Ling Xiao, that ferocious beast seems to be the legendary blood jade spider. It has the strength of a demigod and is even stronger than the heaven-tearing panther. Standing in front of the valley, Zhu Biao reminded. The blood jade spider was a powerful ferocious beast guarding the ice heart tea tree. Its strength was terrifying beyond compare and had been waiting for the ice heart tea tree to evolve into a transcendent divine medicine. It was extremely difficult to deal with. No matter, let's go in and take a look first. Ling Xiao's gaze was calm as he slowly walked into the valley. With Ling Xiao's current battle strength, even a demonic beast that was half a step away from the divine realm could not cause the slightest ripple in his heart. Perhaps, only a divine realm demonic beast could make him take it seriously. The valley looked very quiet and secluded. Ancient trees towered into the sky and resplendent spiritual lights shone. There were many precious spiritual herbs, but this was the territory of the blood jade spider. Obviously, no other demonic beast dared to enter the valley. Chapter 1031. The tea tree was snow-white and flawless. Whether it was the branches or the leaves, they were all like white jade. They shone brightly as if they were carved from jade. They were very exquisite. This was the ice heart tea tree. There were dozens of leaves on the ice heart tea tree. Each leaf had a mysterious pattern on it, as if it contained some kind of law power. Even though they were so far away, Ling Xiao, Zhu Ganglai, and Zhu Biao felt their hearts become extremely peaceful. It was as if all the mortal energy had been cleansed away. Even the bottleneck of their cultivation had loosened. It really is the ice heart tea tree. Judging by its aura, it's going to advance to the realm of divine medicine soon. Ling Xiao's gaze shook. Looking at the ice heart tea tree in front of him, his eyes revealed a hint of surprise. He could see that the ice heart tea tree in front of him was emitting a mysterious fluctuation. It was in harmony with the surrounding heaven and earth. It was faintly absorbing some kind of law power, and its aura was getting stronger and stronger. Moreover, the ice heart tea tree already had 49 leaves. The 50th leaf was slowly condensing, matching the number of Dian. Ling Xiao could predict that as long as the 50th leaf condensed, the ice heart tea tree would be able to advance to the realm of divine medicine. Moreover, it seemed that it would not take too long. At most, it would take a few months. At least, it would take a few days to complete the final transformation. Where did the blood jade spider go? Zhu Biao looked around in surprise. He did not sense any aura of the blood jade spider. Not good, dodge. Ling Zhao's expression suddenly changed. Without thinking, he wanted to bring Zhu Ganglai and Zhu Biao to dodge. Whoosh! However, at that moment, a large blood-red net fell from the sky. Its speed was extremely fast, and in an instant, it wrapped around Ling Zhao and the other two. The blood-red net seemed to be made of intertwined divine chains. It was very tough and contained the mysterious power of runes. Zhu Biao and Zhu Ganglai were unable to break the net in a short time. Hiss! A soft sound was heard. A light flashed in the void, and in an instant, a spider the size of a millstone appeared. Its body was as bright as blood jade, and its 8 legs were as sharp as blades. In particular, its compound eyes contained a cold and bloodthirsty aura. It slowly crawled toward Ling Zhao and the other two. Blood jade spider. Although this blood jade spider was small in size, the terrifying aura it emitted was even stronger than the heaven-tearing panther. Who would have thought that the blood jade spider would be so cunning, deceiving the senses of Ling Zhao's group and directly capturing them with a giant web made of spider silk? Break! Ling Zhao's expression darkened. The Devourer's sword in his hand shone brightly as he channeled the invincible war god energy into the Devourer's sword. Instantly, a snow-white sword light flashed, and the blood-red spider web was instantly sliced apart by Ling Zhao. If it weren't for the power of the war god, it would have been extremely difficult to cut through the spiderweb with the heaven-devouring sword alone. Whoosh! Just as Ling Zhao cut through the spider web, the blood jade spider let out a sharp cry and rushed towards Ling Zhao. The shriek pierced through Zhu Biao's soul, causing him to tremble. He immediately became extremely pale. Even Ling Zhao and Zhu Ganglai trembled slightly. A blood-red leg blade slashed down towards Ling Zhao, as fast as lightning. Clang! Ling Zhao didn't even think. The Devourer's sword slashed through the air and collided with the leg blade. Instantly, the sound of metal clashing rang out, and sparks flew in all directions. At the same time, the other 7 leg blades of the blood jade spider slashed down towards Ling Zhao. Ding ding ding! The Devourer's sword in Ling Zhao's hand shone brightly as it spat out a resplendent sword light. Moreover, in Ling Zhao's hand, it transformed into a silver river of sword qi, enveloping Ling Zhao's entire body. The leg blades and Devourer's sword collided, producing a crisp sound. The blood jade spider's 7 leg blades collided with the Devourer's sword, but unexpectedly, not even a white mark was left behind. It was extremely sturdy. What sturdy leg blades! If the Devourer's sword could devour the blood jade spider's 8 leg blades, I'm afraid its quality would be even higher. Ling Zhao sighed in admiration as a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. Kill! Ling Zhao swatted away the blood jade spider's leg blades and poured the war god energy into the Devourer's sword. Instantly, an invincible sword qi erupted and slashed down towards the blood jade spider. The blood jade spider seemed to be able to sense the extraordinariness of this sword, but its 8 leg blades still flew through the air to block. Kacha! Resplendent sword qi exploded, the light was gorgeous, and the void trembled. One of the blood jade spider's leg blades was actually cut down by the Devourer's sword. But at the same time, the blood jade spider's mouth emitted a sharp cry, piercing directly into Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness like a soul-destroying needle. A blood-colored spider silk, like a divine chain of order, shot through the air at extreme speed towards Ling Zhao, instantly wrapping him up. As for the blood jade spider, it opened its bloody mouth and lunged at Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. This series of attacks was as fast as lightning. If it were an ordinary person, they would not have been able to react at all. The blood jade spider did not have any intelligence, but it actually knew how to set up a trap. At the cost of 1 leg blade, it released a series of sure-kill attacks, such as a sonic attack and blood jade spider silk, all in order to get close to Ling Zhao and completely eliminate him. But unfortunately, although the blood jade spider's sonic attack was strong, it did not have the slightest effect on Ling Xiao. Not to mention Ling Xiao's incomparably powerful primordial spirit, he also had the protection of the wordless heavenly book. Ling Xiao was least afraid of primordial spirit attacks. Boom! Ling Xiao's body gushed with divine light, and accompanied by a terrifying dragon roar, a vast and unparalleled physical strength erupted, instantly breaking the blood jade spider silk around him. Ling Xiao's hand formed an unparalleled fist print, and a punch came down on the blood jade spider. 18 rainbow-colored divine dragons crisscrossed between heaven and earth, converging into a golden fist print. The dragon's power was vast, as if it wanted to shatter heaven and earth. This was the power of the 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique. The dragon clan was once the overlord of an era, the supreme existence of the demon clan. Although the blood jade spider was extremely powerful, its bloodline still had a fear of the dragon clan. When this punch came down, the blood jade spider's eyes suddenly showed a trace of fear. But this punch also stimulated the blood jade spider's ferocious aura. The blood jade spider instantly leaped into the sky, and suddenly spat out a blood-colored jade ball from its mouth. It contained the power to destroy everything, and it exploded. Boom! The power of the blood jade contained the terrifying divine power of the blood jade spider. Even a half-step divine spirit would probably be directly blown to death. But Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably calm. His fist came down from the sky, instantly breaking through the blood-colored light that filled the sky, and fiercely slammed into the blood jade spider's body. The blood jade spider's carapace was incomparably sturdy, and a layer of blood-colored light appeared to resist. But soon, the blood-colored light dimmed instantly, and the hard carapace made a crisp sound. Crack! Under Ling Xiao's punch, the blood jade spider instantly exploded into a bloody mist. Even its hard carapace was shattered by Ling Xiao. Chapter 1032. The blood jade spider's body was incomparably sturdy, comparable to a quasi-divine artifact. Its 8 legs were extremely sharp, even sharper than a divine artifact. However, Ling Xiao's war god's power was invincible. Even the blood jade spider couldn't withstand Ling Xiao's punch and was completely killed. Whoosh! The wordless heavenly book devoured the blood jade spider's flesh and soul. The blood jade spider's carapace and legs seemed to have a special attraction to the heaven-swallowing sword, and they were slowly refined by the heaven-swallowing sword. Although the heaven-swallowing sword's quality wasn't high, it was refined with Ling Xiao's life essence. Coupled with the integration of the innate Spirit King's tool spirit, the heaven-swallowing sword had unlimited potential for growth. Master's battle strength is getting stronger and stronger. This blood jade spider's strength is unparalleled. I'm afraid it's not much weaker than a real god, but it still died at Master's hands. Zhu Ganglai said with a sigh. Zhu Biao's eyes were also filled with shock, and there was a hint of complexity in them. He had seen Ling Xiao kill Yin Jiutian with his own eyes. At this moment, Ling Xiao's terrifying battle strength was like that of a peerless war god, and it shocked him greatly. When he thought about how he might never have the chance to catch up with Ling Xiao in this lifetime, Zhu Biao was extremely depressed. However, Ling Xiao's expression was extremely solemn. He slowly said, "This is only the foot of the Kunwa's sacred mountain. The blood jade spider already has the battle strength of a god. I don't know how terrifying the creatures on the Kunwa's sacred mountain are." Zhu Biao nodded and said, "That's right. My grandfather also said that below the Kunwa's sacred mountain, supreme being experts can barely survive. Above the Kunwa's sacred mountain, even a god may die. However, we have already obtained the Ice Heart Tea Tree, so we can cultivate in seclusion in this valley. There's no need to continue going up." Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He glanced at the Ice Heart Tea Tree and said, "I'm afraid the Ice Heart Tea Tree will transform into a real divine herb after some time. Let's cultivate here for the next few days." The terror and mystery of the Kunwa godly mountain caused Ling Xiao to hesitate. However, after killing the blood jade spider, Ling Xiao found that the ice heart tea tree seemed to have broken free from some kind of shackles and began to emit powerful divine fluctuations. Wang! The ice heart tea tree trembled slightly. Dozens of leaves collided with each other, producing an incomparably crisp sound. It was as if jade beads were falling onto a jade plate. The leaves glowed brightly as if they were carved from white jade. Mysterious patterns appeared on them as if they were describing some kind of heavenly truth. Furthermore, the icy heart tea tree exuded a strange aura that caused the three of them to tremble. Instantly, their hearts calmed down. It was as if all the distracting thoughts had disappeared. His entire being was neither sad nor happy, without any thoughts, ethereal and mysterious. Ling Xiao slowly sat down with his legs crossed. Around the ice heart tea tree, his mind became extremely clear. The secrets of the ancestral dragon's secret skill, the true phoenix secret skill, the white tiger secret skill and the black tortoise secret skill gradually appeared in his mind. Ling Xiao began to comprehend the four secret skills. He wanted to fuse them together to form the perfect four elephants sky-striking style. Just like that, Ling Xiao, Zhu Ganglai, and Zhu Biao all sat around the ice heart tea tree and entered a state of cultivation. The icy heart tea tree was even faster than Ling Xiao had expected. 3 days later, the 50th leaf would be completely formed. Boom! The entire icy heart tea tree glowed brightly, exuding strands of strange divine chains of order that intertwined with each other. The power of law rose, causing the entire valley to fall into an ocean of power of law. Ling Xiao and the other two were also awakened by the commotion caused by the icy heart tea tree. A beam of divine light exploded in the valley, causing the entire valley to be as bright as day. Rumble. Vast amounts of heaven and earth essence gathered. The icy heart tea tree began to tremble violently and began to devour the mysterious power of law. Above the icy heart tea tree, it was as if it had ascended to godhood and a mysterious scene of thousands of gods gathering. A vast and powerful aura surged as if some kind of power was about to be born. Not good. The commotion caused by the icy heart tea tree is too big. I'm afraid it will alarm other primordial ferocious beasts. Zhu Biao's expression changed as he spoke slowly. Don't worry. The speed of this transformation should be very fast. Once the icy heart tea tree completely transforms into a divine medicine, we will leave this place. Kunwa's sacred mountain is deserted, so there shouldn't be any problems. There was a hint of excitement in Zhu Gonglia's eyes. If the icy heart tea tree in front of them could transform into a divine medicine, it would be of great use even to Zhu Ganglai. It should be able to restore part of his strength. Therefore, when he saw the transformation of the icy heart tea tree, he was also extremely excited. Boom! The icy heart tea tree shone even more brightly. On each leaf, there seemed to be countless law runes floating, like a sky full of stars. It was extremely beautiful and gathered to form a vast galaxy. A divine power was awakened, and the icy heart tea tree's aura began to soar. However, at this moment, a group of uninvited guests came to the valley. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He felt the aura of a group of experts flying toward the valley. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the valley. It was a group of young disciples in green robes. There were both men and women. The men were dignified and extraordinarily handsome, while the women were beautiful and had an extraordinary temperament. The leader was a handsome young man with an ancient sword on his back. However, his face was extremely cold and arrogant, as if he didn't care about anything. His cultivation had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Realm, which was similar to Ling Xiao's cultivation. Although he looked very young, Ling Xiao could tell that he was probably a few hundred years old. After the young man landed in the valley, he saw the icy heart tea tree in the middle of Ling Xiao and the other two. Instantly, there was a hint of passion in his eyes. Who are you? This tea tree is the treasure of the Qinghua Palace. If you know what's good for you, you'd better get lost. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. The young man's eyes flashed coldly as he looked at Ling Xiao. Although he didn't know what the icy heart tea tree was, he could tell that it was a supreme treasure that was about to evolve into a divine medicine when he saw the fluctuations of the icy heart tea tree. Even the entire Qinghua Palace didn't have such a treasure. It only existed in legends. Now that he had encountered it, how could he miss it? Moreover, although he couldn't see through Ling Xiao and Zhu Gonglia's cultivation, he could see that Zhu Biao was only at the 6th level of the Supreme Realm. He didn't care about him at all. Chapter 1033. What Qinghua Palace? Never heard of it. We were the ones who found the ice heart tea tree first. What does it have to do with you? If you want to snatch it, just say so. You are twisting the truth and pretending to be sanctimonious. How disgusting. Zhu Biao stared at the young man and sneered. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. The Qinghua Palace did not exist in the War God world or the reincarnation world. Could it be from another world or the starry sky world? Among the dozen people in front of him, only 3 of them were honorable martial artists. The rest were only half-step honorable martial artists. Ling Xiao did not take them seriously. However, it was impossible for them to enter the Kunwa's sacred mountain with their strength alone. There must be an expert who brought them here. How dare you? How dare you? The 3 of you are not from the Qinghua Palace or the Xingyue Palace. Where did you come from? Could you be spies from the demon clan? The ice heart tea tree was planted by the Qinghua Palace. You are courting death. Eldest senior brother, why are you wasting your breath on them? Just kill them. The disciples of the Qinghua Palace were extremely arrogant as they spoke with their heads held high. The eldest senior brother they were referring to was the young man, the son of the old man, Qing Yuanjun. He was the number 1 genius of the Qinghua Palace. In their opinion, after they mentioned the Qinghua Palace, Ling Xiao and the other 2 should immediately kneel and beg for mercy. However, they did not expect Ling Xiao and the other 2 to show no fear at all. It was as though they had never heard of the Qinghua Palace. This enraged them. The 3 of them were too ignorant. They were courting death. I'll give you one more chance. Get lost immediately and I can let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, the 3 of you will die. Qing Yuanjun said slowly as he looked at Ling Xiao and the other 2. He was more cautious in his actions. When he saw that Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai did not speak, both of them looked extremely calm. Moreover, he could not see through the 2 of them. This made him a little wary. He was testing the waters with his words. He wanted to know the background of Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai. There are people everywhere who don't know death. Master, let me kill them. A bunch of ants dare to be so presumptuous. They are courting death. Zhu Ganglai said with a sneer. Aren't you bullying the weak with your actions? Zhu Biao, go ahead. A mere 9th level venerable, 2 7th level venerable, and a bunch of half-venerable fellows shouldn't be a problem for you. Ling Xiao glanced at Zhu Biao indifferently. He did not even look at the Green Origin Lord. His eyes were still on the icy heart tea tree, waiting for the icy heart tea tree to transform. Zhu Biao's true form was a reincarnation beast. The reincarnation beast clan was incomparably mysterious. Even Ling Xiao had never heard of them. It was very likely that they came from the divine world. Zhu Biao's trial in the time cave allowed him to reach the 9-severing genius realm. He had inherited the great fortune and fortune of the reincarnation beast tribe. Therefore, in Ling Xiao's opinion, it was not difficult for Zhu Biao to deal with this group of people in front of him. All right. Zhu Ganglai said helplessly. With his realm as a true god, even if he only had the fighting power of a deity, killing these guys in front of him would be as easy as crushing an ant. Him making a move was indeed bullying the weak. Zhu Ganglai understood Ling Xiao's intentions. He wanted Zhu Biao to train himself. Either you scram or die. Zhu Biao stepped out and looked at the Green Origin Lord indifferently. Zhu Biao naturally had his own pride. With his current cultivation level, although he was 3 levels lower than the Green Origin Lord, it was not difficult for him to kill the Green Origin Lord. Ha ha ha. Good. Very good. You guys are really arrogant. How dare you say that you can take on all of us with your cultivation level of level 6 Supreme Realm? You really don't know your place. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The Green Origin Lord was so angry that he laughed. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. He was also infuriated by Ling Zhao's disregard. Ever since he was born, he had been the #1 genius in Qinghua Palace. His strength was unparalleled. Who didn't treat him with respect? Even many experts from other forces were killed by him. Coupled with old man Qinghua's deterrence, the Green Origin Lord had naturally developed his arrogant character. Swoosh! Qing Yuanjun exuded a majestic divine power around him. He slammed his palm down on Zhu Biao. The huge palm print was like a millstone, causing the void to tremble. It was as if it was going to crush Zhu Biao into dust. Great senior brother. Kill this brat. Great senior brother, kill them. Many disciples of the Qinghua Palace shouted, their eyes filled with fanaticism and adoration. In their hearts, the Green Origin Lord was a peerless genius of the younger generation. He was invincible. Many experts of the same level had been killed by the Green Origin Lord. A mere Zhu Biao would probably be killed in a single blow. The power of the Green Origin Lord's palm was indeed extraordinary. It was a pity that he had met Zhu Biao. Boom! Zhu Biao also slammed his fist across the sky. His body was surrounded by a black divine light that contained a mysterious reincarnation power. Although this punch was purely based on his physical strength, it contained a powerful will that could break through the reincarnation of life and death. The fist and the palm collided, causing the void to tremble violently. A divine light storm swept out in all directions. Zhu Biao's face was calm, but the Green Origin Lord's expression changed drastically. He felt a terrifying destructive power coming towards him. His body trembled violently as he was sent flying a few hundred feet away by Zhu Biao's punch. What? The disciples of Qinghua Palace were shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They were stunned. The invincible great senior brother was sent flying with a single punch. Boom! The Green Origin Lord's body was glowing brightly. He suddenly flew over from afar with a gloomy look in his eyes. Zhu Biao's punch was too terrifying. If he did not have a powerful defensive treasure, he would have been severely injured by Zhu Biao. You're courting death. The Green Origin Lord's eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. The ancient sword behind him was instantly unsheathed. Swoosh! The sword light was clear and bright, illuminating the void. It contained an unparalleled sword will. A powerful wave of divinity spread out. It was a powerful divine weapon. Qinghua Primordial Sword Qi, slash! The Green Origin Lord shouted. Suddenly, his body glowed brightly. Streaks of sword qi rose. The green divine light seemed to cover the entire sky, forming a vast sea of green sword qi above the 9 heavens. As the Green Origin Lord pointed at Zhu Biao, the sword qi that filled the sky suddenly slashed toward Zhu Biao. Each of the sword qi was extremely powerful. Good timing. Chapter 1034. Rumble. Zhu Biao's punch contained a vast amount of reincarnation power. It was ferocious and indestructible. It made his fists look like they were made of metal. Green sword qi fell from the sky and collided with Zhu Biao's iron fists. The sound of metal colliding rang out, causing the void to tremble violently. In the end, the green sword qi was all shattered by Zhu Biao's fists. Strike again. Qing Yuanjuan's eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he gritted his teeth and roared. Suddenly, the void trembled violently. The green sword chi that filled the sky condensed once again. Green chi intertwined in the void and turned into a chaotic green lotus that bloomed, causing the world to lose its color. Boom! The chaotic green lotus sword chi seemed to have formed a vast domain and shrouded Zhu Biao in an instant. The sword chi slashed down one after another, containing an extremely terrifying destructive force. What an impressive chaotic green lotus sword chi! It actually contains a trace of chaotic immortality. It is indeed extraordinary. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He could see that Qing Yuanjuan's chaotic green lotus sword chi seemed to be formless and intangible. However, it contained an unparalleled sharpness that could cut through the sky and destroy everything. This was also a divine-level martial art. It was extremely powerful and exquisite. Ling Zhao felt that it even surpassed the Thousand Dragons god-slaying technique. It was a pity that Qing Yuanjuan's cultivation was not perfect. He was only at the small success stage. If Qing Yuanjun could cultivate the chaotic green lotus sword chi to the large success stage, Zhu Biao might not be a match for him. The green chaotic green lotus bloomed in the void. Streams of sword chi burst out, forming a vast sword domain that wanted to annihilate Zhu Biao completely. Ling Zhao's face was calm. He was not worried at all. In his opinion, although the chaotic green lotus sword chi was extraordinary, it could not do anything to Zhu Biao. Rumble. The world trembled. A black and white divine light suddenly shot up into the sky. Zhu Biao let out a roar that shook the world. Terrifying sound waves swept out in all directions, causing the void to tremble violently. The azure light primordial sword chi that had been imprisoning him suddenly exploded with a boom. Zhu Biao's body was surrounded by black and white divine light as he punched at the Green Origin Lord with extreme speed. What? Qing Yuanjuan's expression changed drastically. The Qinghua primordial sword chi was old man Qinghua's peerless divine art. Its might shook the entire starry sky. Even Daoist Zhai Xing and fairy Wang Yue were extremely wary of it. Ever since Qing Yuanjun had cultivated the green light primordial sword chi to the small success stage, he could be said to be invincible among the supremes. Thus, he had developed an extremely arrogant character. However, he didn't expect that a mere 6th-level Supreme Realm fatty would be able to break through his primordial azure splendor sword chi. He couldn't believe it at all. Crack! Feeling the terror of Zhu Biao's punch, Qing Yuanjun felt her scalp tingle. She quickly raised the ancient sword in her hand to block it. Zhu Biao's fist landed on the ancient sword. Suddenly, black and white divine lights burst out. Two mighty forces of extreme yang and extreme yin blasted into Qing Yuanjuan's body at the same time, causing him to tremble violently. Then, he flew backward and spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn fatty, who the hell are you? How did you break through my primordial azure splendor sword chi? Qing Yuanjun stared at Zhu Biao. His eyes were filled with terror. Even a titled Supreme Realm expert would find it difficult to break through his primordial azure splendor sword chi. Therefore, he couldn't figure out how Zhu Biao did it. I'll tell you when you're dead. Zhu Biao sneered and immediately charged towards Qing Yuanjun. At this moment, the disciples of Qinghua Palace seemed to have woken up from a dream. Someone shouted, "Hurry up and save senior brother." Suddenly, more than a dozen disciples of Qinghua Palace rushed towards Zhu Biao at the same time. Especially the two 7th-level Supreme Realm experts. They held two sabers in their hands. The saber radiance was unparalleled. It was like a vast ocean that enveloped Zhu Biao. You can't even withstand a single blow. Zhu Biao sneered. The black and white divine light behind him rose and instantly transformed into an immemorial divine mountain that pressed down on the disciples of the Qinghua Palace. Rumble. Everyone's attacks landed on the immemorial sacred mountain and produced a crisp sound. However, they couldn't stop the power of the sacred mountain that was formed by Zhu Biao's divine power. It instantly suppressed the dozen half-step Supreme Realm experts and caused them to explode. Blood mist filled the air. Broken limbs filled the air. The air was filled with the stench of blood. The two disciples of Qinghua Palace who held two sabers were also in a sorry state. After being hit by the immemorial sacred mountain, they were instantly sent flying back while spewing blood. They were also severely injured. Bastard! My father won't let you off. You're all dead meat. Qing Yuanjuan's eyes instantly turned bloodshot. These were the genius disciples of Qinghua Palace. Zhu Biao had killed all of them in an instant. It made his heart bleed. Even if your father is here, he won't be able to save you. Murderous intent flashed in Zhu Biao's eyes. Instantly, a saber palm came down on Qing Yuanjun. Who dares to hurt my son? At this moment, a deep and old voice sounded. It exuded a domineering and majestic aura. Boom! A ray of green sword chi swept across the sky. It was extremely bright and contained an eternal aura. It instantly collided with Zhu Biao's saber palm. Kacha! The divine light that filled the sky exploded, and a bloody wound instantly appeared on Zhu Biao's arm. She also let out a muffled groan and was sent flying. A ray of light flashed in the sky. Instantly, a white-haired old man in hemp clothes appeared. He looked otherworldly and exuded an ethereal aura. It was the master of Qinghua Palace, old man Qinghua. Father, the three of them snatched my icy heart tea tree. Hurry up and kill them and take it back. Qing Yuanjun exclaimed when she saw old man Qinghua. Icy heart tea tree. Old man Qinghua's body trembled when he heard these words. He looked at the icy heart tea tree beside Ling Xiao and felt the vast divinity fluctuation. His eyes were suddenly filled with an incomparable passion. How dare you snatch the things of my Qinghua Palace? How dare you? Hand over the icy heart tea tree and I'll spare your lives. Old man Qinghua said coldly. His eyes were deep and majestic. He looked at Ling Xiao, Zhu Ganglai, and Zhu Biao indifferently as if he wanted to see through them. Hee, the old man came after you beat the young one. Old man, your son offended us. If you know what's good for you, kneel down with him and apologize. Perhaps we'll spare your lives. Otherwise, you'll all die. Zhu Ganglai rolled his eyes and stood out with a smile. You're courting death. A bunch of ant-like things dared to speak such arrogant words. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Old man Qinghua's eyes were indifferent. A cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Suddenly, green sword chi rose around him. It was vast and unparalleled, exuding a peerless aura. Old man, even if your real body is here, I'm not afraid of you. How dare a mere doppelganger act so presumptuously in front of me? Come on, let me teach you how to be a man. Zhu Ganglai sneered. The nine-toothed rake in his hand flashed and slashed at old man Qinghua. Chapter 1035. Rumble. The nine-toothed rake shone brilliantly, containing a demonic aura that could destroy everything. It caused the void to tremble violently. Old man Qinghua's expression changed slightly. He hadn't been able to see through Zhu Ganglia's cultivation before, but as soon as Zhu Ganglai attacked, he could feel the terror of his strength. The power of the nine-toothed rake had surpassed the peak of human Tao, reaching the power of the divine spirit realm. Moreover, the surging demonic aura seemed to make old man Qinghua think of something. His eyes were suddenly filled with disbelief. You're actually a demon. Damn it! How dare you collude with the demons? This is unforgivable. Die! Old man Qinghua stared at Zhu Ganglai, Ling Xiao, and Zhu Biao and said coldly. Then, he slammed his palm down. Boom! Sword aura filled the sky. Green divine light radiated from old man Qinghua's body and condensed into a green lotus in his palm. It contained incomparably sharp mixed origin sword aura and slashed down at Zhu Ganglai. Mixed origin sword aura. In old man Qinghua's hand, a power that made even Ling Xiao look askance, far surpassing that of Green Origin Lord. Zhu Biao definitely wouldn't be able to take this attack. Ding ding ding. The nine-toothed rake was enveloped in black demonic energy. Although it appeared incomparably heavy, it was incomparably agile in Zhu Gonglia's hands. The nine-toothed rake blocked all the sword beams that filled the sky. Additionally, the nine-toothed rake rapidly expanded. In the end, the nine-toothed blade struck the cyan-colored lotus flower. Boom! The green lotus exploded. Zhu Gonglia's eyes were filled with a cold sneer as he slashed down at Old Man Qinghua. Damn it! Old Man Qinghua's eyes were gloomy. He could feel Zhu Gonglia's strength. With the current strength of his clone, he wasn't Zhu Gonglia's match at all. He immediately leaped up and dodged the attack. Then, he grabbed Green Origin Lord and tried to escape from the valley. You want to leave? Hee, leave your life behind for me. Zhu Ganglai laughed, revealing a mouthful of sharp fangs. He slammed his fist down at Old Man Qinghua. Boundless demonic qi surged. This punch contained the ultimate physical strength, and it locked onto Old Man Qinghua, making it impossible for him to escape. Rumble. Old Man Qinghua and Qing Yuanjun were punched by Zhu Ganglai, and they were thrown against a distant mountain. The mountain trembled, and Old Man Qinghua's body became dim. It looked as if he was going to disappear at any moment. That was only a clone of Zhu Ganglai, who was only slightly stronger than a titled celestial being. How could it withstand Zhu Gonglia's attack? This old man will remember you. If you dare to kill this old man's son, this old man will kill all of you even if I have to ascend to the heavens. Old Man Qinghua stared coldly at Zhu Ganglai, Ling Xiao, and Zhu Biao. Then, his doppelganger instantly disappeared. Qing Yuanjuan's eyes were filled with fear as her body trembled uncontrollably. Even Old Man Qinghua couldn't save him. Who were these three guys? Boom! At that moment, Zhu Biao had already killed the other two supremes. Qing Yuanjun was the only one left in the valley. Seeing Zhu Gonglia's mocking gaze on him, Qing Yuanjuan's face turned pale. What are you doing? You can't kill me. My father is the master of the Qinghua Palace. He is a deity and has millions of subordinates. If you dare to kill me, my father will not let you go. Qing Yuanjun said fiercely. Zhu Ganglai sneered and said, the master of the Qinghua Palace. I've never heard of him. Don't worry. After I kill you, I'll kill your father. I guarantee that you will be reunited soon. Do you want to interrogate him? I want to know more about the Qinghua Palace. Zhu Biao asked. Zhu Ganglai said calmly, no need. Old Man Qinghua is only a demigod. There is nothing to be afraid of. Seeing Zhu Gonglia's cold expression and his determination to kill him, Qing Yuanjun broke down and shouted in horror, don't kill me. Don't kill me. As long as you spare my life, I will tell you the whereabouts of the Divine Origin Fruit. Divine Origin Fruit? Zhu Gonglia's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with joy. Even Ling Xiao, who was observing the Ice Heart Tea Tree, turned around when he heard about the Divine Origin Fruit. Zhu Ganglai explained, Master, the Divine Origin Fruit is a rare treasure of heaven and earth. It contains Divine Tao Origin energy. It is very precious in the divine realm. I didn't expect the Divine Origin Fruit to exist in the Kunwas Sacred Mountain. Not only can the Divine Origin Fruit allow one to be reborn, but it can also condense Divine Tao Origin energy. No wonder that old man's doppelganger had the combat strength of a demigod. It was because of the Divine Origin Fruit. If you can get the Divine Origin Fruit, it will be of great help to your physical body. Oh. Tell me, where is the Divine Origin Fruit? Tell me and I will spare your life. Ling Xiao looked at Qing Yuanjun indifferently. Qing Yuanjun was just a small fry in his eyes. It did not matter whether he killed him or not. Qing Yuanjun immediately said honestly, the Divine Origin Fruit grows in a cave 40,000 feet above the sacred mountain. It ripens once every 1,000 years, and it can bear 10 divine origin fruits. This secret was discovered by my father, Old Man Qinghua, Taoist Zhai Xing, and Fairy Wangyue from the Xingyue Palace. They come to pick the divine origin fruit once every 1,000 years. Now that the divine origin fruit has ripened, we are here. How is Taoist Zhai Xing and Fairy Wangyue's cultivation? Zhu Ganglai asked. Qing Yuanjun carefully looked at Ling Xiao and Zhu Ganglai and said, Taoist Zhai Xing and Fairy Wangyue are the same as my father. They are all demigod experts. Now, they have gone to pick the divine origin fruit with my father. As long as you spare my life, I will bring you there. Zhu Ganglai sneered and said, You want your father, Taoist Zhai Xing, and Fairy Wangyue to save you, right? That's a good plan. Qing Yuanjun immediately kowtowed and said, I don't dare. I just want to stay alive. My father, Taoist Zhai Xing, and Fairy Wangyue together are no match for you. Only you deserve to enjoy the divine origin fruit. Qing Yuanjun's heart skipped a beat. Indeed, Zhu Ganglai had seen through his plan. However, he believed that the temptation of the divine origin fruit was too great. Zhu Ganglai would not be able to resist it. You are right. What bullshit, Old Man Qinghua, Taoist Zhai Xing, and Fairy Wangyue. Master doesn't even need to do anything. I can kill them all myself. Bring us there. If there is really the divine origin fruit, I will spare your life. If you dare to lie to me, don't blame me for turning you into ashes. Zhu Ganglai laughed coldly, revealing his white and sharp teeth. Qing Yuanjun immediately trembled and said, I don't dare, I don't dare. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.